It's time to save some fantasy football teams. It's time to make some trades. And we're going to go ahead. We're going to dive into this right out the gate for La Genty. Now, obviously, we've had a lot change over the past 24 hours. And if you go through and you use the My Teams page on the site, like all these team reviews, you'll see the updated rankings that we have here. For example, here we actually need to, I guess, go ahead and tinker with this a bit. But we have Kyle Pitts moving up to our tight end 11. And what's going to be really useful is as I look at all your teams here and as I suggest trades, I'm going to be on the other monitor actually continuously updating our rankings. That way we can make sure that they are 100% where we need them to be on the site. So like you can see, we have Puka Nacua ranked as our wide receiver 4 at this point. And you may be a little confused if you're just watching this live stream right now. Like, Mason, this person submitted a question yesterday. How are they going to see this in the live stream? The developers on flockfantasy.com have built out an incredible system that whenever I answer somebody's question, the clip of me answering it gets sent to them immediately through flockfantasy.com, and they're going to get a custom link where they can just click that link and it will take them to the exact time that I answered their specific question. So yeah, you can ask a question on the site whenever you want. It'll be answered within 24 hours. Unless it's a team review, then sometimes it'll get pushed to the second day. But start, sit, trade, the whole 9 yards will be answered within 24 hours, and you will get it sent directly to you. But anyway, La Gente, appreciate you being a member of the flock and excited to get this going. Let me send you over a couple of free questions here. And you're saying, please review the team. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you, my guy. And this is a 12-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, half PPR format. So the wide receiver depth does not matter that much, but ultimately at the end of the day, we have a hell of a lot of it because we now have 2 alpha wide receiver 1s with Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith-Njigba. I moved JSN up to being my 19th overall player in fantasy football. You can see that with the ranking here. And beyond this, the depth is expendable. We have DJ Moore, we have Rashee Rice, we have Shakir. Obviously, we're going to see DJ Moore play in tonight's game, and we're going to hope that we get a good performance. Honestly, I was maybe initially hoping that we had a DJ Moore dud because I have to go up against him myself tonight in the Flock League. But realistically, we are put into a spot where we are looking at the wrong team. And are we sure? I see somebody in the chat saying that we are. And we are. Never mind. I apologize for that. I'm an idiot. Thank God. Loaded Dipper fixed me up. But anyway, this is a team that's much worse off. I'm sorry. I assume that we are number 1 in the league analyzer. And honestly, this is a team that I think actually should be on the lookout for some trades and some waiver wire pickups. The first thing being is with the George Kittle injury. We do not have official word at this point of how much time we should be expecting that George Kittle is going to miss. But we should expect that we have no Kittle for the next few weeks. And if that is going to be the case, I think you very easily need to run over to the waiver wire. And looking at the Hunter Henry usage and how Stephon Diggs didn't dominate with targets week 1, I think Hunter Henry is going to be your best tight end pickup off waivers for your league specifically this week. What I'd be looking to do is I would drop Deonta Thornton, where we did have Jacoby Myers just going through and absolutely smashing as the alpha wide receiver 1 here in Las Vegas. Obviously, wasn't great for me. I had to play against Jacoby Myers this week, but I think seeing that type of volume does mean that if you have Deonta Thornton and you have an injury to somebody like George Kittle, it is safe for you to go through, drop Thornton, pick up the best available tight end off waivers, which will either be Hunter Henry, Brenton Strange, Zach Ertz, Juwan Johnson, or Harold Fannin. For me personally, I think I'm going to be looking at Hunter Henry out of that list if we need somebody to just kind of start here in the short term. Then when we go over to quarterback, Brock Purdy, at this point looks like just a streaming quarterback in my opinion. Especially if we have no Jennings and we have no Kittle. Obviously, Ricky Pearsall is going to be really exciting, but I think you could look at another QB. I've recently moved Justin Fields ahead of Brock Purdy in my rest of season rankings, where realistically, if Kittle's going to miss some time here, I think I would drop Purdy for Justin Fields if you didn't want to drop another running back, because we can't drop another receiver. We have Josh Downs as our wide receiver 4 after we drop Deonta Thornton. And your running back drop would be Braylon Allen, which obviously I really do like Braylon Allen. I don't want to tell you that you have to drop him. But realistically speaking, over the next few weeks, I think I would start Justin Fields over Brock Purdy until Kittle comes back. So it's going to be up to you if you determine that it's best for your team to drop Purdy for Fields or to drop Braylon Allen for Fields. And let me just triple check that I'm not overreacting here, but can everybody please let me know in the live chat right now, who would y'all rather have rest of season in a 4-point passing touchdown format? Are you going to be going with Justin Fields or are you going to be going with Brock Purdy? Looking at running back, Jahmyr Gibbs still very easily a top 5 RB for me. I understand that you do get the disappointing week 1 performance for the Detroit Lions, but Gibbs gives you a baseline floor with this reception volume. Half PPR format, obviously not as exciting as a full PPR league, and that will be something that we have to monitor here because this is a half PPR league. But we got Fields, Purdy, Fields, Purdy, Fields, Purdy, Fields. So it looks like the majority of people in the chat also agree that they would rather have Justin Fields as well. With Gibbs, again, like I said, not as exciting in half PPR format as he will be in a full PPR league. Looking at Trevion Henderson, I know Henderson was disappointing, but in the short term, you have Jalen Warren that we can go with until Henderson expands his role in the long term. Wide receiver, we have London as an alpha, shoulder injury, but day-to-day, I think he'll probably end up playing this next week. We have Igbuka, locked and loaded as a wide receiver 2, Devonta Smith, Josh Downs, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. So maybe wide receivers a little bit questionable here, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's a start 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league in a half PPR format. So as I look at this, I think you have a good team. I don't think I make any trades with your team. I think you're going to have to wait until we get a couple of these players back in, like George Kittle, until we get a Trevion Henderson breakout. For the time being, I would drop Deonta Thornton for your favorite tight end on the waiver wire. My favorite option in your league specifically would probably be Hunter Henry. Another thing that I would consider is because we're not going to be starting Josh Downs in the next 2 weeks anyway, I would also probably drop Josh Downs for Jordan Addison, because ultimately with your 4th wide receiver spot on this team, we're only going to be thinking about long-term upside. Then I would either drop Braylon Allen or Brock Purdy for Justin Fields, depending on how comfortable you are with getting waiver wire quarterbacks in your specific league. But I really appreciate you. Really hope I was able to help you out in some way here. And like I said, I sent you over some free vouchers as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me and send over any questions that you have. I'd be happy to cover them. Now, Probable Lamp coming through with our next team review. And it looks like we actually aren't that far behind on team reviews. So what I've been doing lately in these streams is we've been turning the team reviews on for about 10 minutes so the people in the live stream can get them in on the site. And so I don't fall too far behind on team reviews like we did before the season started. I'll turn them off after 10 minutes. So I'm going to make team reviews available for purchase on the site for about 10 to 15 minutes. I realistically will guarantee that any team review that gets in the next 10 to 15 minutes at the very latest is done in tomorrow's live stream, but has a good shot to be done in today's. Now, Probable Lamp says, looking to beef up my running back room for the rest of the season. Maybe trade Montgomery plus a rookie receiver for a stronger RB. Yeah, so at this point, I mean, looking at Montgomery coming out of week 1 with how bad the Lions were, obviously Montgomery looks like he's transitioning to be more so a premium handcuff back if the Lions can't bounce back. Also, would you change my flex? Let me know how you would try to manage this team for the rest of the season. Thanks. Really appreciate you, my guy. And excited to go ahead and check this out. So we are currently the 5th team in the league analyzer with the updated rankings. With that being said, you probably were higher initially in the league analyzer because we had Jamar Chase before this week as the number 1 overall player and the number 1 wide receiver. I have moved Jamar Chase down to my number 2 wide receiver behind CeeDee Lamb. If you want to call it an overreaction, you can call it an overreaction, but that's what I'm going to be doing. And also we had the David Montgomery fall in the rankings as well, and the Jerome Ford fall in the rankings. So let's first address the easy stuff. The easy thing is at quarterback, we're not doing anything. You start Josh Allen every single week, and you are extremely excited to do so. And I'm actually going to be moving Josh Allen even higher in my rankings and Lamar Jackson even higher in my rankings based off the fact that, hell, I have Josh Allen in my own fantasy football league. And realistically, if somebody tried trading for Josh Allen from me, I would be less willing to trade away Josh Allen than I would be to trade away like Josh Jacobs, who I also have. So I'm going to move Josh Allen higher than 23 overall in my rankings. I'm going to move Josh Allen to 19 overall in my ranks. Going over to tight end, very easy call that we can have here is Darren Waller is now going to be droppable. That we see Tyler Warren just be an absolute jam every single week, regardless of the matchup. Like, I understand that yes, maybe the Colts regress a bit, but for him to be that involved early on, and we assume the Colts are probably going to have to throw the ball more in the future, I moved Tyler Warren up to my tight end 5, and he is at 62 overall. Darren Waller is going to be droppable. Jerome Ford is also going to be droppable as well. Jerome Ford looked horrendous week 1. And on top of that, you actually have the additional competition coming in with Quinshon Judkins in week 2 and beyond. So I would go ahead and I would drop Jerome Ford. And looking at the options that we have on the waiver wire, quarterbacks, these guys aren't going to be appealing. Obviously, Caleb could blow up tonight, but we have Allen, so it doesn't matter. Looking at the running back room, I have moved DJ Giddens up our overall rankings because it does look like he is the clear handcuff to Jonathan Taylor at this point. He'll never be startable outside of a Jonathan Taylor injury, but I do think that he could possess league-winning upside with his athletic profile if Taylor were to go down, but I would still rather have Dylan Sampson. So with the open roster spot that we have from dropping Darren Waller, I would pick up Dylan Sampson. And then we have another open roster spot from dropping Jerome Ford, where I'd be looking to get Quentin Johnston. Now, specifically in your league settings, I would optimize for the running backs off the waiver wire as opposed to the receivers. So say like Dylan Sampson and Quentin Johnston, we're not able to get both of them. If you can only get one, my backup option would probably be DJ Giddens, because again, you can only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex on your team in this league. Running back, we have Bucky, auto start every week. Pollard, solid RB2. I would say that once we get Tajee Spears in, I'm going to be a little bit less excited, and Pollard will probably move down my rankings just slightly. Then going over and looking at what we have with David Montgomery, if he's an RB3 on your team coming out of this week, I'd be very surprised if you're going to be able to sell David Montgomery for much. Realistically speaking, I think you're probably just better off holding him just in case you do get that outside scenario in which we have an injury to Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery does turn into a legitimate, top 5 running back. Rachaad White, pretty much just the handcuff to Bucky Irving. Wide receiver, we have Chase, auto lock every week. Sutton, auto lock every week. We have Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden as the upside shots. And then we're going to have like Shaheed, Cedric Tillman. These are players that are relevant in best ball because they're going to give you some random usable weeks. But realistically, I don't know if we could ever project them to hit your starting lineup when your team's this good in a league where you only start 2 receivers and 1 flex. So not that excited to tell you to oh yeah, let's keep rostering Shaheed. Let's keep rostering Tillman. But realistically, the options on the waiver wire aren't great. Once Dylan Sampson's gone, once DJ Giddens is gone, if I were to tell you to hey, let's drop Shaheed, who are we getting? Kareem Hunt? Which I don't think I can tell you to do that. So, if you wanted to hold on to these wide receivers on your team, not going to fault you for it. Overall, trade-wise, I think you're good as is. Matthew Golden, you're not going to be able to trade him for much right now. Neither would you Travis Hunter. Neither would you David Montgomery. If we get a week or two going by and we have say Tony Pollard absolutely crushing it in week 2 and absolutely crushing it in week 3, before Tajee Spears comes back, I'd be interested in trading Pollard at that point, which let me make sure we send you over some free questions just because if there is a trade that comes across your table, especially then, I'd be happy to try to help you out with it. But for now, I think you make the waiver wire moves. I think your team's constructed well for this format. And obviously, I'm going to assume that we had a shot at winning this week, even with the Jamar Chase dud, because Josh Allen came through in a big-time way. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And real quick, if y'all have not done so already, make sure you go down to the chat and hit the like button. Once we hit 200 likes, we're going to go over to the chat and give a couple people some free questions for either this stream or for the future streams, whatever they want. And also subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. I live stream every single day answering fantasy football questions, and I'm not going to miss a single day until until Christmas, December 25th. But let's move this over to our next team. And yes, team reviews are open. Again, I'm probably going to have them open for another 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll close them for this live stream. But Chaxx says, 10-team at PPR, was looking to see if we can make any trades, etc. Congrats on your engagement. Thank you so much, my guy. I really do appreciate you. And here, this is a 10-team league where you only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. And with it being a half PPR format, wide receiver is not going to be as appealing in our flex spot. Now, looking at where we are at in the league analyzer, we are the number 1 team, mainly because I recently did move CeeDee Lamb to being the number 1 wide receiver for me. And honestly, the number one player for me in fantasy football. Like, let me know if y'all think I am overreacting here from week one, but please spam the chat. Who would you rather, like, if you got the 101 this year in your draft, who are you taking? Shane, if you're having any issues with your vouchers, please send in the side issue section of the Discord. I cannot help you right now in the stream. But we got Lamb, Bijan, CMC, Chase, Lamb. If he's healthy all year, CMC. That's the thing. CMC will be the RB1 in my week 2 rankings, but I'm not putting him there in my rest of season rankings because I don't know about the health all season. Bijan, Chase, Bijan. Barkley, Chase, Puka. Bijan, CMC, Lamb, Bijan. CMC, Chase, Bijan, Chase, Lamb. So it does look like it's kind of split. We got a lot of Bijan. We got a lot of Lamb. I mean, a lot of Chase. But realistically, I still think you're kind of in that big tier of the top 6 players still. But anyway, regardless, quarterback, don't have to talk about anything. We have Lamar Jackson. We can start Lamar every single week, regardless of the matchup. Obviously, just him himself can win us some weeks on his own. Going over and looking at the options on the waiver wire, like there are phenomenal QB2s. I never worry about rostering a QB2 in this format. You have Fields and Caleb both out there on waivers right now. Looking at what we have at running back. Now, this will be a very interesting case of what we have to figure out what to do with. So running back, we have Chase Brown, who is legitimately seeing every single snap in Cincinnati. There was not another running back to carry the ball in week 1, but obviously the Bengals offense looked horrendous, especially in the second half. So I know a lot of people are going to be very hesitant with how they value Chase Brown at this point, which I'm not going to fault them for. But I'm going to put Chase Brown as the top 10 running back because the Bengals always start slow. I'd actually assume that the Bengals get better as time goes on. DeAndre Swift, we'll see what he does tonight, but I think he's going to be a capable RB2. Kenneth Walker's okay if we don't have to rely upon him. But obviously, Zach Charbonnet's usage was extremely concerning. It's nice that we have Charbonnet, but the issue is, like, if this turns into a 50-50 backfield split, neither guy may be interesting. Like, if you have Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, this is, like, crazy to say, but realistically, you would be rooting for Kenneth Walker to get injured. I know that's crazy to say, and obviously from a real life humanitarian perspective, if you're trying to be a good person, you would never root for an injury under any circumstance. It's a horrible thing to admit out loud. But if you are like just trying to optimize for fantasy points, if you had both Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, you'd be better if one of them went down. So instead of it being a 50-50 backfield split, all of a sudden one guy gets a bunch of usage and they just can be a jam in as a top 5 RB in fantasy. Now, Jones, we have a bunch of running back depth here. Wide receiver, we have Lamb, Adams, Pickens, Godwin, Deontay Thornton, and then tight end, we have Evan Ingram. For the flex spots, what's going to be interesting is Hollywood Brown I have ranked over Trey Benson. However, with that being said, if I were to look at the probability and the path for one of these guys hitting our starting lineup, am I ever starting Hollywood over CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams? Probably not. And with this being a half PPR format, I would assume that one of the running backs, whether that's Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, DeAndre Swift's hitting your flex. And you have Godwin coming back in about a month. And then you have Rice coming back in about a month. And we don't have clarity with the Hollywood injury. So if we were to get news that, yeah, Hollywood, I mean, with the Worthy injury, if we were to get news Worthy's out for the season, then yeah, I think Hollywood's going to be our number 1 priority pickup, and we would drop Deontay Thornton for him. If we don't get that news, I would drop Deontay Thornton for Trey Benson instead, because I think Benson has a higher probability of actually making an impact in fantasy in your format in particular, because it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, half PPR format, so wide receiver depth really isn't going to matter much at all. The hope that you would have here is in the game tonight, DeAndre Swift and Aaron Jones both crush, where we have the expendable running back 4 that we can get rid of. And then at that point, we could try to pivot over and like sell Aaron Jones or sell Kenneth Walker and go get a tight end like Sam Laporta. Because realistically, if we don't make that sell, you're just going to have to pick up a tight end off the waiver wire. And your best tight ends on waivers right now are going to be like Dallas Goedert, Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts. Because we have Evan Ingram with the injury, Evan Ingram looking like he just may not be usable. So you're going to drop Thornton. You're going to pick up The tight end with either Goddard, Kincaid, or Pitts, or Hunter Henry, whoever's your favorite, or Tucker Kraft. Dependent on the Evan Ingram injury and the news that we get regarding how long he is going to be out. The second option would be if we could trade one of Swift, Walker, Jones. We're not going to be able to get up to McBride. We're not going to be able to get up to Bowers. Trading for Kittle's not going to do much for us with him being injured. Side note, I would trade for Kittle if we just get news he's going to be out for a couple weeks. That price point would be very reasonable. We would go down to the tier of guys like Tyler Warren or Sam Laporta, where if you could flip like Aaron Jones for Tyler Warren, flip Aaron Jones for Sam Laporta, I think it'd make a lot of sense. And then instead you could pick up Trey Benson from the waiver wire. But I really appreciate you. I think that really the only thing to do is possibly trade a running back for a tight end and then make the one waiver wire pivot if the tight end trade doesn't work out. But I really appreciate you. Really hope I was able to help you out in some way, and really hope we won week 1, which we had a shot with Lamb and Lamar both playing well. But it looks like we hit 200 likes on the stream. So go down to the chat and drop your flockfantasy.com username, and we'll go ahead and we will get some of y'all set up with free questions. Now, C-Man says, congrats on the engagement. Thanks for the review. Thank you so much, my guy. Let me send you over some free questions as well. And let's see what platform this is. This looks like it's ESPN. So you actually should be able to pull this up on, I mean, you should be able to link this with the site relatively easily. But I'll be super happy to just look at the screenshot for you. I can definitely do it that way. No problem, my guy. And as I pull this up, we're going to do 2 different things here. I'm going to pull this up. And we are going to, on another screen, look up a couple of y'all on the site to give y'all free questions. And like I said, every 100 likes we hit on the live stream, we always give out free questions. So if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Like Sunday morning, we must have given out, and we gave out way more than what we usually do. We gave out, what do y'all think? Like 200 free questions in that 5-hour stream? Now, we got Mark DJ. Let me send you over some stuff, my friend. Mark DJ. Just found you. And just sent you a free start set and a free trade as well. So anything that you need help with, I'd be super happy to try to do my best for you, my guy. And let's go Zonga Sadfish. Zonga Sadfish. Just found you. There are 2 of them. There's an account that's all caps and there's an account that's lower caps. I'm going to assume that you are both of them, or that would be the weirdest thing ever. I'm going to send the free vouchers to the account that is all lower caps because that's what you put in the chat. But anyway, let's go ahead and let's get this review going for C-Man. This is an ESPN league with 2 flex spots. So the wide receiver depth is going to matter a little bit more here. It is going to be interesting to note that we have Quinshon Judkins on the IR. So we are going to be able to just go ahead and move Quinshon Judkins to the bench, and we are going to have to drop someone. So in my mind, a couple easy drops. I think Miles Sanders could be an easy drop. Maybe I'm going to be overreacting here, but based off what we had with the fumble at the end of the game and Javonte Williams playing well, I wouldn't be surprised if like Jaden Blue jumps Miles Sanders here in the long term and Miles Sanders kind of lost his shot at being the RB2 or the RB1 in Dallas. So I wouldn't mind at all if you decided to go ahead and pivot from there to get Quinshon Judkins in. Quarterback, we have Josh Allen, so we don't need to roster a backup quarterback. I mean, I'm in the same spot with my own fantasy league. And because we have Josh Allen, I'm going to operate under the assumption that we won week 1, especially where we have Garrett Wilson in one of the flex spots. And at the same time, we're in a spot where CeeDee Lamb performed well. Lad McConkey disappointed, but he wasn't horrendous. So congrats on being 1-0, unless I don't even know. I guess maybe if our league mate had like Fields and Derrick Henry, they could have caught up to us. But there weren't a lot of fantasy points scored this week. So if you had Allen, at least in my case, like the rest of my lineup was pretty middling, and I am going to be at like the very top of my league. I'm maybe going to be the number 1 spot in my league with fantasy points scored going into week 2, just because mainly Josh Allen. But running back, we have Chase Brown seeing 100% of the carries for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals offense was horrendous. They always are week 1. I expect them to get better as time goes on. We have RJ Harvey as a running back that should expand his role as time goes on. And then we have a lot of running backs on the bench that are like handcuffs that possibly could turn into something. But the reality is, without Quinshon Judkins being our RB3, I wouldn't have anybody that I'd be excited about. So as we look at this, I think you're better off now that we have Judkins, but still not great. I do like the fact that we are just rostering as many running backs as we can down there on the bench. And then going over to receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Ladd McConkey, Garrett Wilson, Travis Hunter. And then on the bench as well, we are sitting with Stephon Diggs, Josh Downs. So plenty of wide receiver depth. It is frustrating to see Josh Downs just kind of get cucked by Michael Pittman Jr. and Tyler Ward in week 1. And if that's going to make it where you can't rely on Josh Downs in fantasy, it makes our trades a little bit tougher here. Because the first thing that I would have wanted to do with this team is see if there's a way that we could transition some of this wide receiver production to tight end. Like, is there a world in which we could sell Ladd McConkey and Tucker Kraft and go get a player like Trey McBride, right? If we were able to do that, I think that would be a very compelling trade, because then all of a sudden we can open up a roster spot where we're able to just go through and we're able to just move Quinshon Judkins to the IR without having to drop any of these running backs. Because the realistic scenario here where we're weak at running back 2, and this is a double wide receiver, double flex league, I don't necessarily know if we're in a situation in which we can go through and we can afford to go and trade for a running back. Like, Tucker Kraft had a perfect setup against the Detroit Lions where Jaden Reed was injured going into this game. Matthew Golden hasn't really established himself as a rookie yet. And still, you didn't really get Tucker Kraft doing anything in this. So, I mean, I was excited about the upside case with Kraft, but now all of a sudden I am a little bit worried. Is there anything else that we can discuss other than just consistently churning the waiver wire at running back? The thing is with RJ Harvey, I mean, I just recorded a video talking about like RJ Harvey being a buy low candidate. I think you're going to be fine at running back at the end of the day. I think the only thing is if you could get a very reasonable price on one of the elite tight ends, like flipping Ladd and Tucker Kraft into Trey McBride, opening a roster spot, picking up another running back, let's go for it. But what's going to like tie your hands behind your back and make it a little bit tougher to make moves here is it's a league where you have double flex spots and you have the elite level quarterbacks. So we just don't have that much skill positional depth. So I think I'm going to keep on doing exactly what you're doing, where we're just filling out the bench with as many running backs and wide receivers as we can. And I think we really need to hope Quinshon Judkins turns into something here, because obviously getting Judkins as a hit coming off the bench would be massive for our running back depth. But also, please make sure you link your team with the site. This is going to make it like a lot easier for me to see waiver wire options, for you to be able to submit questions, and also for you to see waiver wire options. Like for me, what I do with my own league, like I have to submit my waiver wire tonight. I think the Flock League is going to do waivers on Tuesday. Is I need to go through and I update all the bottom end of my rankings, right? I know you have a membership to the site. So you should be able to sort like by my rankings here, which mine are always up to date. Like I update them literally every single day. So like I use this literally for my own league. I just pull up my league, it auto loads and pulls in the rankings for the best available players off the waiver wire. This is a much better view than what you have if you were looking at like the ESPN trending ads. So you can see like, oh, Justin Herbert is a very viable pickup. Will Shipley is the top running back on my waiver wire this week. Yeah, my waiver wire is not great. Wide receiver, we have Quentin Johnston. And that's really about it. Hollywood Brown was already rostered. And then tight end, we have Hunter Henry as the best pickup. But you can go through and you can do that with your league, and hopefully you have some better players that are available to you. If you're having an issue linking your team, my guy, so ESPN's a little bit more difficult. Like Sleeper is super easy. You literally just copy and paste the league ID from the URL of your desktop or from the league settings on your Sleeper app, and then it auto loads everything, stays up to date at all times. Yahoo's super easy. You just have to hit submit. It takes you to Yahoo. You log in. Then you got sent back here. Then it pulls all your leagues in automatically for you. ESPN, I'm sorry, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I would recommend doing this on Google Chrome. I'd recommend doing this on really anything but Safari. But if you log into ESPN, which, I mean, obviously you already were when you submitted this, like on one browser like this, and on the other browser, you log into flockfantasy.com, which I see we got Clash of Clans pulled up on our browser. That's awesome. But anyway, you log into flockfantasy.com on another browser. We have that right here, right? You hit get extension, you open up your extensions, and then you hit sync, and it will sync everything for you, and you'll never have to even bother with that again. It'll automatically be done forever into the future. So definitely do that. It's going to help you a bunch with your waiver wire calls, but I really appreciate you, Mike. I already sent you over some of those free questions, so I'd be super happy to help you out with anything that we can going into the future as well. But yes, Leggett looked horrendous yesterday, but so did Bryce Young. But it looks like we hit 300 likes on the stream. So if you have not done so already, drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat, and we'll go ahead and we will send out some additional free vouchers to people. And C-Man is out here. Hey, C-Man, please let me know in the chat real quick if you have any additional questions with that. I'd be super happy to try to help you out. Like if you can go to the waiver wire real quick and give me like, hey man, I got this guy available, or if you know anybody in your leagues looking to trade, just any questions you have in the chat right now, I'd be super happy to help you out. Okay. Let's move this over. We got Chase Neighbors with our free vouchers here. And I do want to reiterate that if you give me the wrong username in any way, I cannot circle back on the live stream and take time to go oh, I gave vouchers to this wrong person. No, I need to give vouchers to you now. Or if you didn't add code FLOCK in time. If you win a free voucher thing, your name needs to be correct. Y'all send you the vouchers if your name's correct, but I'm not circling down, hunting you down, trying to figure it out after you get it fixed to give you them. So make sure you have your name correct the first time. Luis got his username right, and you have the free vouchers in your account now, my guy. Okay. So now Prisma has our next team here. And also what I did on the other monitor real quick is I turned off team reviews. I turned them on for about 10 minutes. I think we had like 10 to 15 people send them in. So it's going to take me a little bit of time to get through those. I will turn them back on once we get through all the ones that we have right now. Pretty close to it. Maybe we can turn them on in a couple hours, but let's smooth this over. So Prisma says, should I try trading some of the low-end wide receivers for a better running back? So this is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So I would say in general, we are always incentivized to sell wide receiver depth to get upgrades inside the starting lineup. It's a super easy thing to do in a league that's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, right? And especially if you have CeeDee Lamb, because realistically, we look at this, and honestly, never mind, you got the Worthy injury. You have the Jordan Addison suspension. JMO was toast week 1, so this team took a bath week 1. Like Kenneth Walker turning into somebody that may not be an auto start. Isaiah Pacheco not looking viable. Xavier Worthy getting injured. JMO with the Lions offense looking bad. Tucker Kraft disappointing. Oh, this was a tough spot. I will say, first off, we have Lamar Jackson. So when it comes to Kyler Murray, we don't need him. Looking at the waiver wire, it does appear that most teams in your league are rostering 2 QBs. But if it's a 10-team format, the reality of the situation is we don't need the second option. Now, I understand that you're not going to be able to sell Kyler for anything in your league. So you're probably just going to be sitting with Kyler for now. But if you would get an opportunity to ever use Kyler as a trade piece, 100%, we're going for it. Now, looking at running back, in a 12-team format, this may be okay. But in a 10-team league, Trevion Henderson as our RB1 is rough. Kenneth Walker as our RB2 is rough. Isaiah Pacheco as our running back 3 is whatever. Ja'Cory Cross-Kamara as our RB4. Our RB4 is better than average. CeeDee Lamb, great wide receiver 1. Brian Thomas, good wide receiver 2. He'll be much better in future weeks. Ricky Pearsall looks to be a strong flex play with the Jennings and Kittle injuries. Let me see if we have any updates regarding those. And then it looks like Cole says it seems like CeeDee is wide receiver 1 on the stream, but my rankings on Flock, it says wide receiver 2. The reason for that, real quick, let me address this because I know this is something that people say a lot, is if you go over and use any tool on flockfantasy.com, whether it's the rankings, whether it's the My Teams page, whether it's the trade calculator, the default is going to be the expert average. So like I go through and I know that Danny has CeeDee Lamb, right? The expert average has CeeDee Lamb as the wide receiver 2. Whenever I'm looking at stuff in the live stream, it is using my rankings, which my rankings specifically have CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver 1. So that explains that. But let me see if we have any updates regarding the Niners injuries, because it does look like Ricky Pearsall could be a very exciting start in the flex over the next few weeks. But we have JMO as wide receiver 4, and then Addison in the long term with Worthy in the long term. So long term, you 100% need to be trading a wide receiver to try to find a running back upgrade in any way that we can. Hell, I may even go as far as telling you, I would be willing to just flip CeeDee Lamb for the elite level running backs here at the top. If you could flip Lamb for Bijan, if you could flip Lamb for Barkley, let's go for it. With Brian Thomas, as you can tell, he's still my wide receiver 10. However, I did nuke him in my overall rankings. Brian Thomas went from being an early second round pick in my overall rankings to being an early third round pick. And the main reason is we're looking at all the tier 2 running backs jumping ahead of him. That's Taylor, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs. Like all those guys that typically we had ranked in the middle of the second round to the end of the second round, they're flying over Brian Thomas, as well as the elite quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Like I have Josh Allen in the flock league. If I got offered Brian Thomas for him right now, I'm probably rejecting. But I think you're okay with Brian Thomas as your wide receiver 1. I'd feel better about Brian Thomas being my wide receiver 1 than I would Trevion Henderson being my RB1. So if I were looking at this, what I think I would consider doing is seeing if we can flip Lamb just for the alpha running back, and then you slide Brian Thomas to wide receiver 1, Ricky Pearsall to wide receiver 2, JMO to wide receiver 3, and we still have the upside with Jordan Addison coming in the long term. Then if Trevion's our RB2, Kenneth Walker's our RB3, the balance out points where we're not having to rely on these guys, I think would be a lot better. So if you could trade CeeDee Lamb for one of those running backs that's a tier 1 option in our rest of season rankings, that's probably going to be the move. And obviously we'd be willing to throw in Kyler Murray in any one of those deals if it's going to get it done. And then if that doesn't work out, I would also be offering Brian Thomas for all of the running backs that we talked about in that tier of guys that were going in round 2 of drafts this year. That's Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. On a team like this, I would clearly trade Brian Thomas for any of them. But I really appreciate you. Really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, thank you so much for being a member of the flock, my guy. Now let's move this over to FatGovernment. And we actually got to log out and log in. So as I do this, I will stall by asking you to make sure you subscribe to the channel if somehow you have not already. And we are on a mission. We have not had a mission in quite some time, because I'm going to be honest with you. About 2 years ago, I thought to myself, there's no way that this channel ever has another big milestone. There's no way this channel ever hits 300,000 subscribers. Just simply not enough people play fantasy football. But I did the math, and we are going to be right there where we could potentially hit 300,000 subscribers this season. So I'm going to be live streaming every single day until Christmas. I'm going to be begging for likes, begging for subs like a hobo. Please, sir, please, please, please drop a like. I'm going to be giving away stuff for you to do it, because we are on a mission to hit 300,000 subs, which I never thought would be possible, but it looks like it is now. Okay. And also, I think we just hit 400 likes on the stream. So go down and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat, and we'll give away some more free questions. But FatGovernment says, how's the team and how can I improve? Big fan. Thanks. Thank you, my friend. Here we are 4th in the league analyzer. And oof, we go through and look at this, and I have no idea what the hell actually, never mind. I'm being a little harsh. No, I'm not. What did we do in the middle rounds here? I'm sorry to be rude. I know I am being rude. Oh, no. You know what it is? It's Waddle got nuked. That's where it went. Waddle and Caleb Johnson just got nuked. So our round 1 pick was Lamb. Round 2 pick was Achane. Love that 1-2 combo. At least I did a week ago. Achane looks shakier now with the Dolphins offense. Round 3 pick was Daniels. Perfectly fine. Round 4 pick, I'm assuming, was Trevion Henderson. Perfectly fine. Round 5 pick was Jalen Waddle. That looks like a disaster. Round 6 pick, I'm assuming, was Caleb Johnson. That looks like a disaster. Round 7 pick was Stephon Diggs. Doesn't look great. Round 8 pick was maybe David Njoku. Definitely not great. Because we go through and your team was just taking jab to the uppercut. I mean, you were just getting beat up all week 1. Because Caleb Johnson scores negative fantasy points week 1. This dude's playing behind Kenneth Gainwell. We can't trust him anytime soon. We have the complete and utter collapse from this Miami Dolphins offense with a combination of Achane and Jalen Waddle. Trevion Henderson looks like a backup in the short term, and Harold Fannin just made it where David Njoku may not be startable this year. And this is a league where the depth matters. It's a start 8, 12 team full PPR format. So what I think you need to do right this second is we need to be an animal on the waiver wire. Going through and looking at quarterbacks, nobody's really available on waivers. For that reason, we're probably chilling with the 2 that we have, and I don't think I need to tell you to drop Dak Prescott. So with Marshawn Lloyd and Jalen Coker, both of these players are the easiest cuts in the world if they are actually taking up roster spots for you. If either guy's actually on your bench, you cut them, you don't think twice about it. But if they're on your IR, then obviously it doesn't matter. But if they were to be on your bench, I am cutting Jalen Coker and I am cutting Marshawn Lloyd in favor of DJ Giddens and Will Shipley, who look to be the premium handcuff backs in their backfield, and we got that confirmation with the usage week 1. At wide receiver, I would be cutting Demario Douglas. I know he scored a touchdown. It brutally hurt my Stephon Diggs start for Hollywood Brown, and I'd be cutting Shaheed for Quentin Johnston. Then going over to tight end, like David Njoku is extremely concerning with the Harold Fannin usage, but it's not like we have great tight ends on the waiver wire, so I'm okay if we stand still for now. And then I never tell people to do this. I never want to do this, but with your league settings specifically, you may need to move off of Jaden Daniels. You may need to be able to go to some of the rosters that have the elites, skill positional depth, give them the elite quarterback for us to save our running back and or wide receiver room or just the flex spots. Real quick side note, Big Dill, I just sent you over some free questions. Thanks for hanging out with us on the stream. Now, if we were to look at the teams that could afford that type of trade, that need a quarterback, this team has Hurts, they don't need one. This team is second in the league analyzer. They have the number 3 wide receiver room in the league. And they are sitting with Jared Goff and Tua, both of whom look horrendous week 1. So what I would look to do right now is I would try to sell Daniels down tier to Goff, which is a massive down tier, play the matchups between Goff and Dak going into the future if it can save our wide receivers and our flex spots. Because again, going over and looking at what we have now at wide receiver, Stephon Diggs is our wide receiver 2. Waddle's our wide receiver. I don't want to start these guys. Caleb Johnson's our running back 3. Ollie Gordon's our running back 4. So you need to pick up starters. This team has Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, Chris Olave, Rashee Rice, Chris Godwin. Could we sell Daniels and get back Adams, DJ Moore, and Goff? And get 2 additional wide receiver starters here in your format with your team? I'm interested in that. Let's go through and let's try to find another team that has a garbage quarterback room. This team is sitting with CJ Stroud as their only quarterback. Can we send Jaden Daniels and get back CJ Stroud and let's say Amari and Hampton, Travis Hunter? Be an absolute no-brainer if you could somehow pull that off. This team has Herbert. Can we send Daniels, get to Justin Herbert, and also pick up Ladd McConkey. This team has Bo Nix. Can we send Daniels, get back Bo Nix, and the rest of their roster is absolute garbage? Their team's much worse than ours. So I don't like saying it, but realistically, I think you're in a situation in which you probably got to be selling Daniels and you got to be looking for the skill positional depth, because in your league it matters, and our team just kind of got nuked week 1, at least in my opinion. And obviously it's very rude for me to say. I'm very sorry to say that, but I think it's the most used. We got to address the elephant in the room, right? Week 1 was not good for our team. Week 1 was horrible for our team, and I think you have to make a move to hopefully survive this. But 99% of the time I'm telling people to trade for the elite quarterback, but this is the time I think you trade the elite quarterback for additional starters. But appreciate you. Hope I was able to help you out. Now let's move this over to Adam A.R. Fox. I just finished my fantasy football draft from the 4 spot after getting burned by injuries all last year. My main focus this time was building depth across the board. How do you think I did with my draft? And are there any weak spots or possible moves I should be looking to make before the season? Well, excited to dive into this for you, my guy. Let me send you over some free questions real quick. And we actually are in a really good spot. We are the number 1 team in the analyzer. Now, I will say the concern that I have with this team right out the gate is we are going to have a lot of value on our bench that there's no way it can ever hit our starting lineup. Like, I want to sit here and go, oh my gosh, yes, George Kittle went down. Jawan Jennings went down. We have Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall looks great. Ricky Pearsall could crush. It's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. The reality of the situation is there's no way in hell you could ever get Ricky Pearsall in the starting lineup because the 4 receivers ahead of him are Jefferson, London, Tet, and Igbuka. And we even go over to running backs, and you have Travis Etienne as our running back 4. So if you have Travis Etienne as your running back 4 and Ricky Pearsall as your wide receiver 5, you have 9 positional starters that you can jam in every single week in a league where realistically you only have 5 spots for them. What you have to do with your team is you have to trade for the elite QB, and I'm willing to overpay for it. I'm willing to send London and Drake May and give me Josh Allen. I'm willing to send London and Drake May and go give me Lamar Jackson. Hell, I would trade for an elite tight end. I understand that nobody is more exciting than Tyler Warren and Igbuka week 1, but Igbuka is your wide receiver 4. Godwin's going to come in the long term. I would trade Igbuka and Tyler Warren on a team like this, and I would go get Trey McBride. And no way. Chris says Eckler hurt. Did we just get an Eckler report? Is Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt going to be... Let me pull this up. Do not tease me this way. Do not tease me this way. Okay. I do not see anything here with Eckler. No, I'm sorry. I got to figure this out because I got to figure out if I need to move JCM up our rankings dramatically. Yeah, I don't see anything on Austin Eckler. I think that was just somebody trolling. Okay. Actually, we have people saying shoulder. How serious is it? Why can I not find it on Twitter? Okay, we just got a... Okay, here it is. So, Monday injury report, Austin Eckler, shoulder limited. Okay. For a running back that was drafted in 2017 to get in a limited practice on Monday, I'm not concerned. Let's not overreact here. I would love to say that JCM's a jam, but we can't get there. But the next thing I'm going to do here with this team, Adam, is I'm just going to go down to the lower tier quarterbacks. Could I send Tet McMillan and Drake May for Jaden Daniels? Tet McMillan and Drake May for Jalen Hurts. I would do the same thing with Igbuka if they would rather have Igbuka. So trying to send some of this wide receiver depth and a 2-for-1 upgrade to upgrade a onesie position is just simply something you have to do when you have this much skill positional depth. Looking at any waiver wire pickups, it's impossible to tell you to make any moves because Jordan Mason is the worst player on your team, and there's no way that you can drop Jordan Mason. So realistically, you have the number one team in the league. And with teams like this that are so dominant, you are highly incentivized to just go out there and make sure you have a top 3 tight end room in the league with total value, a top 3 quarterback room in the league in total value. If it was a league where you could start 4 or 5 wide receivers a week, I think you would leave this as is. But with only one flex spot, you really got to go out there and make a play. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, thank you so much, my guy, for being a member of the flock. Now, let me go back and make sure we sent. Okay, I don't know if I already sent you some free questions, but we're going to make sure that we send you some free questions real quick. That would have been bad if we forgot. Now, Afraid of the Darks has been watching for a couple of years now, but decided to join. Thank you. Says, wanted to get your feel on the team. League doesn't really do trades, but I was thinking of making a move for Loveland at tight end after Addison comes back, if it makes sense. So it's really hard to project out what that price point would be on London by the time we get Addison back, right? Because with these rookie tight ends, it's hard to project them in general, but especially to specifically say like, oh, okay, this is what the value is going to be in week 3. This is what the value is going to be in week 4. That is extremely tough. But here we are currently 3rd in the league analyzer. What's very interesting to note with this league is some of these teams are far off from the rest of the field. Like this team is 36,000 value points, and this team down here is 21,000. For this to be this lopsided after 1 week of football is crazy. Now, this is a league in which you can start up to, okay, here's the thing. Your league mates have no idea what the hell they're doing. You're playing with a bunch of monkeys. They're clueless. They're just hitting rocks together, trying at one point to hopefully one day make fire. You don't even need to trade with these fools. You can win this league just straight up off the waiver wire. You have Kyron Williams as your running back 4. You have Achane as your running back 3. We have Gibbs and Genty. I understand, yeah, this is an 8-team league. I understand, yeah, there aren't many people in this. But we currently have DK Metcalf, Travis Etienne, Aaron Jones, Chris Godwin, Jordan Addison, Javonte Williams all out there on the waiver wire. So here's what you do, and it's not even a consideration, not even a thought. Go and overpay for the elite tight end. Go and overpay for the elite quarterback. Go see if we can sell Achane and Hawkinson and go get Bowers. Go get McBride. Go sell London and Bo Nix and go get Lamar. Go get Josh Allen. And then you know what you can do? Just walk yourself over to the waiver wire and pick up DK Metcalf and Travis Etienne for free. So I would drop Ollie Gordon. I would drop Matthew Golden. I would pick up DK Metcalf. I'd pick up Travis Etienne. Depending on what happens in the game tonight, I may even drop Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, as crazy as that sounds, and pick up Aaron Jones. But yeah, I would go ahead and try to trade for the elite onesie. Depending on how TJ Hawkinson looks, I'd probably drop Kyle Pitts, pick up Chris Godwin. But especially if we can make some of those 2-for-1 deals where we get Brock Bowers, we get McBride, we get Allen, we get Lamar Jackson, and that'll put you in a position where we can just take advantage of our league mates because they're letting DK Metcalf sit out there on waivers. So I really appreciate you. I really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. I wish I had more for you, but in reality, I think those simple moves of trading for the elite onesies and then working the waiver wire is going to let you take this league down. But let me move this over to our next question. We are past the team review. So I did open up the team reviews at the very beginning of this live stream, and we answered a considerable amounts of the ones that we had from yesterday. But with the team reviews that got in early at the beginning of this stream, those will hopefully, we can get to them at the end of the stream. And hopefully I can turn them back on the website. Because like I said, I turned them on for about 10 to 15 minutes. And we got like 10 to 15 reviews submitted. So I had to turn them off real quick. But hopefully we can get it back on soon. Now, Beer Boy trading a 3rd and a 2nd for Tyrone Tracy. It's a 10-team super flex format. I will say in general, value-wise, I would rather have the picks. If you are a contender and you think, Mason, the only way this team wins it is if I get Tyrone Tracy in here, then go and get Tracy. But the matter of the fact is, I think the value side in a 10-team super flex league will be the rookie picks, at least for me. Okay. Now let's move this over to our next one. This is Jimbo with the trade. This is Gibbs, Myers, Mooney for Pollard and Jamar Chase. Gibbs to Chase, upgrade. Myers to Pollard, upgrade. Who cares about Darnell Mooney? So yes, I will go ahead and I will make this trade for Jamar. The Cincinnati Bengals always start slow. I'm not saying it's not a concern at all, but I do think that they probably will improve as time goes on. Let's move this over to our next one. Ignorant Technician says, now I got to flip Devontae Adams, or do I keep 2 Rams receivers? I'm not worried about having Puka and Adams on the same team. But looking at this trade, I would trade. Here's like the fact of the matter. I would trade Igbuka, Trey McBride, Jordan Mason, and J.K. Dobbins. I would wrap all 4 of those players together, send them to get Puka Nacua, and I couldn't care less if Breece Hall's on the other side or not. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get Puka and Breece here, and I'm not going to need to think much about it. Disney Guy, trading Trevion and receiving Jordan Mason, Olave, Dalton Kincaid. Not at all. I don't even need to look at your team. I know your team's a little bit of a deeper league, but the fact of the matter is Trevion Henderson's going to get significantly better as time goes on. Like, almost regardless of format, we're going to go with Trevion here. Aimless, this is Ricky Pearsall-Igbuka versus Mike Evans. Here's the thing. This is an 8-team league. At least that's what the league analyzer is telling us. So off the waiver wire, you're going to get Jordan Addison. Would I rather have Ricky Pearsall and Igbuka or Mike Evans and Jordan Addison? I understand Igbuka had the 2 receiving touchdowns where Mike Evans had 0 week 1. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Mike Evans and Jordan Addison. So give me the Evans side. Now, Bitter Hornet trading Bijan, Tet, Loveland for Gibbs, Igbuka, McBride. Oh, this is definitely going to be the Gibbs side. I'd rather have Tet over Igbuka rest of season because I do think Godwin's going to come back, and I think that will negatively impact Igbuka at some point. But, like, they're really, really close, right? You can remove Tet and Igbuka from this. Would I trade Bijan and Loveland for Gibbs and McBride? Yeah, that's a no-brainer as well. Now, Bitter Hornet says, trying to get value for Bijan after taking a hit at running back, but picking up Hunter and Bowers. Really appreciate you, my friend. Trading Bijan after the big game, down-tiering to Bucky, getting Travis Hunter and Brock Bowers. Dylan Sampson's not going to be a big factor for me. Dylan Sampson obviously was really, really strong with the receiving usage week 1, but once we get Quinshon Judkins coming back in, I do think it's maybe going to be a little bit tougher. So if I were to look at a trade like this, Dylan Sampson's not going to be the main motivating factor, right? Dylan Sampson's such a small piece of us like moving Bijan for Bucky Irving and Brock Bowers, because that's effectively what this is. And we get a value bump with Travis Hunter. The thing is, if you were looking at, I understand Bijan phenomenal. Obviously had the big receiving touchdown right out the gate. So everybody who had Bijan Robinson, super excited. It was like I don't want to say the first touchdown of Sunday, but it seemed like it. Big play. You know, I love our guy Bijan Robinson. I mean, we can go through and, well, you can pull up the picture. I always want to. But fact of the matter is, I'm a little bit concerned with the Atlanta Falcons offense with the right tackle going down. I don't think they look phenomenal in this game. Bucky Irving played significantly more snaps than he did at any point last year. If Brock Bowers is healthy, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Bucky Bowers, Travis Hunter side of this. I know Bijan's the best player. Typically, we are wanting to go with the best player. But I think Bowers is good to go, or at least that's the latest report that I saw. You know, please let me know in the chat. Am I wrong with that? Bowers is good, right? Now, G-House. This is DeAndre Swift, Devonta Smith, Igbuka versus Bucky Irving. This is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So wide receiver, we have Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, Travis Hunter, Chris Godwin, Josh Downs. A running back, after we were to make this deal, we would have Bucky Irving, Kenneth Walker. Like, we need help at running back. So This is one of those trades that I think is very dependent on your league settings. Like if you were in a 12-team league where you got to play multiple flex spots, I think you maybe can make an argument for the package. But with this being a 10-team league where you only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, like going over to the waiver wire, you can pick up Hollywood Brown and Jaden Higgins for free. So this is like DeAndre Swift, Devonta Smith, Igbuka for Bucky, Hollywood, and Jaden Higgins. I'm going to go with the Bucky side. But it looks like Bowers is day-to-day. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought Bowers was fine. But Ratlegs trading Evan Ingram for Dallas Goedert. Can y'all spam the chat? Like, am I overreacting to week 1? But Evan Ingram banged up. Evan Ingram, a player that's dealt with injuries through his entire NFL career. I personally have Dallas Goedert as a better option. Who would y'all rather have rest of season? Would y'all rather have Evan Ingram or would you rather have Dallas Goedert? And let me see what the chat says. And also, I want to remind y'all, please, we are on our road to 300,000 subscribers, something I never thought had a chance. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe it doesn't happen this year, but it would be a ton of fun. So if you can, hit that like button. And at the same time, subscribe to the channel if somehow you have not already. And looking at the chat, we got Ingram, Goddard, Ingram, Goddard, 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 Ingram, Goddard, Ingram, Goddard, Goddard. Yeah, so it looks like most people are on the Dallas Goedert side with me. What we've learned now at this point is there are like 5 to 6 okay tight ends in fantasy. And then after that, they're all garbage. Like Mark Andrews to disappoint the way that he did. Absolutely wild. Travis Kelce looked like a bun. I mean, buns, but not a bun. A cute little bun. We're going to take Dallas Goedert here. Like, they're all in one big tier. Now, Saf trading Jordan Mason, DJ Moore for A.J. Brown. I'd clearly rather have A.J. Brown. Obviously, we had to do this deal before the game tonight, so I don't really know what to expect with the package side. 14-team formats, so the depth's going to matter a little bit more, but I still think the value's on the A.J. Brown side of things. Now, Caveman Lawyer says, Bateman and Jaden Reed, do I drop one for Quentin Johnston? If I was going to drop one here, it would be Rashad Bateman. I think with Jaden Reed, for him to be serviceable at the beginning of the season, coming off significant injury, for him to score the touchdown and Matthew Golden did not really look like much. We had 40 points scored for the Baltimore Ravens, and Rashad Bateman scored 3 PPR points. So I probably would drop Rashad Bateman for Quentin Johnston. But keep in mind, I am very biased. I have more Quentin Johnston on fantasy football teams than every family member of his combined. But yeah, I'm going to go with the big Q. Now, questionable with our next question. Questionable soup. This is a start sit between Flowers and Hollywood. I'm going to assume that you were asking before the game yesterday who we would want to roster at the bottom end of our team here. And if that was your question, I would rather have Zay Flowers over Hollywood, but I'm sure you already know that based off what happened in the game last night. Now, faint suspicion, this is Jalen Warren versus Travis Etienne. Okay, so I traded Jalen Warren for Travis Etienne in that package deal with Danny in the Flock League before week 1. I'm going to be honest with you. I wish I could come through and say that, oh, I really knew that this was going to happen. I knew that Travis Etienne was going to crush and it wasn't even going to be remotely close. But honestly, I was just kind of hoping he was going to get sent to Chicago or Dallas. But after seeing Travis Etienne week 1, I know it was a great matchup. Like, and you're going to have much tougher matchups going into the future, but I'd rather have Etienne over Jalen Warren. Like, I would be more concerned about Caleb Johnson expanding his role as the season goes on than what I would be with Byshell Tootin at this point. Now, Beppo619 trading Trevion Tet for Ashton Genty. This is going to be Genty for me. Genty had almost every single snap. Zamir White barely got involved whatsoever. The offensive line looks horrendous in Las Vegas, but we're still running with them. Now, Duro Moody trading Lamar, Jalen Warren for Judkins, Rice, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Before we saw Amon-Ra St. Brown, I was going to go, what the hell are we doing here? I'd rather have Jalen Warren over Judkins, but it's not that far off. And I did move up the elite quarterbacks in our rankings, but with that being said, I still think that I would probably prefer Amon-Ra St. Brown over Lamar Jackson. I know that St. Brown was horrendous, cost me a bunch of money with the underdog pick'em that we submitted. So trust me, I don't think we are underreacting here, but I would still go with St. Brown. And let me see, we got to move the running backs ahead of him in our rankings. For him to be 9 overall is way too aggressive. He has to fall back to being a second rounder at this point. We did get the report coming out saying that Isaac Tesla is going to be more involved going forward. Yeah, let's move Derrick Henry up to 8. I'd rather have Genty than St. Brown. I'd rather have Taylor than St. Brown. I'd rather have Bucky over St. Brown. I would rather have Chase Brown over St. Brown. I think we moved Josh Jacobs ahead of Bowers. Yeah, but let me update these rankings on the site officially so we can get that reflected in. Like I said, we just continuously tweak the rankings because honestly, like the best way for me to work on these rankings is I like seeing that they're listed out whenever I answer questions here because it gives me a really good sense of like, oh, okay, actually, maybe we were wrong. Maybe we do need to go through and fix that because how I actually feel about these players is this. So yeah, we're going to move St. Brown to where he definitely should have been a second round pick in fantasy drafts. We're going to move him behind those running backs, but I'd still rather have him over Lamar. We have now St. Brown at 15 overall, and we have Lamar at 19 overall. Now, Discord trading Ricky Pearsall for Rashee Rice. I have Rice ahead of Pearsall, especially in a 10-team league, so you should have enough wide receiver depth to get by until Rice comes back. But obviously, Pearsall is going to crush with the Kittle and Jennings injuries over the next few weeks. JP says, worried about the running back 2 in the long term. Yeah, I think in the long term, if you wouldn't mind going through and upgrading Pollard when Spears comes back, not a bad idea. But in the short term, I think we're fine to just jam the receivers in at wide receiver in the flex plays. Ricky Pearsall will be interesting, though, depending on the injuries in San Fran. I'm definitely going to go Herbert over Purdy until you get like Kittle and Jennings back. Now, Nasty Nick with our next question. This is us trading CMC and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in a dynasty league for Barkley. So CMC drafted 2017, Barkley drafted 2019. You had the slightly younger running back with Saquon Barkley, not a massive difference. Both running backs have dealt with injuries. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, obviously we're excited about him as a depth piece. And I know in Dynasty you want to put a premium on the rookie, but at the same time, we can't say, well, you know what, he's like the oldest rookie ever. So I probably still prefer Barkley here. I don't look stupid when McCaffrey's fully healthy, but we get another injury scare with McCaffrey. Because McCaffrey, the volume was insane and the workload looked great, but he didn't look like he had a ton of juice in the game, to be honest. Now, Wicked Dependency trading DeMario Douglas for Kayshon Boutte. Yeah, this is another instance where I think we got to flip the rankings. I have DeMario Douglas wide receiver 64, Kayshon Boutte at 170. At wide receiver 67. Can y'all please spam the chat? Who would you rather have rest of season, DeMario Douglas or Kayshon Boutte? If you had to pick up one of these guys from the waiver wire, I'm assuming we're going Boutte. No. We're going to move Kayshon Boutte up to wide receiver 63 and DeMario Douglas wide receiver 64. Boutte. Yeah, everybody's on Boutte. That's what I figured. As soon as I saw this and I looked at our rankings tags, I went, you know what? We got to flip that for sure. Because Kayshon Boutte just had a ridiculous amount of usage week 1. And he was a super high pedigree player. He's like a 5-star prospect going to LSU and performed well at LSU early in his career. Like for Devy fantasy football, or people are tracking these guys in college, a lot of people thought Kayshon Boutte was going to be super exciting. You know what? I'm going to move him ahead of Xavier Legette even. Hurts my best ball bags. I drafted a ton of Leggett, but if it looks like Bryce Young's the worst quarterback in the NFL. Mystery Girl says, need a reliable running back too, or should we hold on to JCM? I have both of these, and then I wouldn't try to deal CMC unless you can get like to Bijan. I have both these running backs in the Flock League, and realistically, I would value Travis Etienne higher than Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So, yeah. If I was selling one of these guys, I would need more for Etienne. I know it's pronounced booty. I know. I like saying Butte, though. Versace, this is Trevion versus Keon. I'm definitely going to go Trevion. Not even remotely close. I understand that, yes, Keon Coleman starts off really hot. Saved my ass when I started Josh Allen. Like, I needed a big game, and we got it. But the reality of the situation is Trevion Henderson's a much better player, and he's going to continue to expand his role as time goes on. I'm not expecting Ramondre Stevenson to be leading this backfield by the time we get to week 6. Okay. Now, let's move this over to our next question. We got to refresh this. And if you have not done so already, go down there, hit the like button. We will give away some free questions in the chat. Just make sure you drop a like so you're eligible. And also subscribe to the channel so you're eligible as well. We are on a path to 300,000 subs. Never thought in a million years that it could be possible, but it looks like it actually may be. So hit that like, subscribe, and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat right now, and we'll go ahead and send you all over some free questions. Now, Gary A says alternative, Shakir plus 15 Fab replaces Pearsall. Given the Niners receivers, I'd way rather have Pearsall over Shakir right now. And then looking at this, I would still rather have Kyron Williams over Breece Hall. I know the Jets look phenomenal week 1, but long term, I'd be more in on the Rams than I would be the Jets. So I'm going to go with the Breece and... Actually, I'm going to go with the Breece and Pearsall side if you keep Pearsall, but if you can flip Pearsall and instead trade Shakira and a couple fab dollars, I think Shakira can dance her way out of here. Now, let's send over some free questions. We got Orellum in the chat. We'll send you over those free questions, my guy, if I can find you on the site, and if not, we'll move over to our next person. And again, I am sorry, but if you get your username wrong when you send it in, I'm not going to hunt you down trying to make it work for you. Relum, I cannot find you on the site, my friend. I don't know if you use code FLOCK when you signed up. I can only find you on my users page if you use code FLOCK. We got Ironclad Knight. All right, just found you and just sent you over a couple of free vouchers. So those should be in your account now, and be super happy to try to help you out with anything that you need, my guy. Thank you for hanging out with us in the stream. Now, Gary A says, oh, no, we already answered this one for Gary. The next one's going to be from Sam. We need a wide receiver in our starting lineup for week 2 as well as a flex. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you, my friends. I have no idea what the hell the matchups are week 2. I know some of the big games. I know the Chiefs are playing the Eagles, but outside of that, I'm clueless. Without knowing the matchups, I think week 2, I will still throw Tyreek in here and just close my eyes when we do it. And then I probably am planning on playing George Pickens over Trevion Henderson in the flex. Dylan Sampson would be in the flex if you do not have Quinshon Judkins playing, but I believe you're going to have Judkins good to go. Now, our next question is going to be from Bart Joe, start set. We have Jalen Warren on the bench. We have Calvin Ridley and George Pickens. I think we're going to leave this lineup as is. I would definitely want to see if we can stream a different quarterback. Let me see if... I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. I would highly recommend avoiding start sit questions, sending those in over to me on a Monday. It looks like we can at least pull up the implied team totals and have a sense of what's going on here. Between the Texans and the Jags, the Texans play the Bucks. They're 2.5-point favorites. They have an implied team total of 24 points. The Jags play the Bengals, so that's a great matchup. They have an implied team total of 23 points. Texans are favored. The Jags aren't. Lawrence has a little more rushing upside than Stroud. Based off the matchup going up against Cincy, if you wanted to go Lawrence, I'm not going to fault you for it. Hell of a matchup for God. I'm excited to jam Travis Etienne this week in that case. I'm definitely playing Travis Etienne in my lineup then. Jose says, need a running back. We have Kyron Henderson stacked on receivers with neighbors St. Brown, Judy, and more. Oh, if you could make this deal, no, Brad. I would trade Zach Charbonnet and Keon Coleman for Bucky Irving if Keon Coleman was my only wide receiver. If you're telling me, Mason, your roster is Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and your only wide receiver is Keon Coleman, if you trade him away, you got to go to the waiver wire, I would still make this trade. 100% you would go and get Bucky Irving. Now, Eric with our next one. This is Trevion, Drake London, Cortland Sutton versus David Montgomery, CeeDee Lamb. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. After we were to make this, our running backs would be Gibbs and Pollard. Our wide receivers would be Lamb, Rice, Pearsall, Godwin, and Hollywood. The depth is a little questionable. Value-wise, in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, I probably go with CeeDee Lamb and David Montgomery. I will say, I don't know if your roster is the one where this makes the most sense, however, knowing that we actually need some depth considering we have no, Chris Godwin and Rashee Rice here early. Okay. Now, Snappy Ware with our next question. This is a trade where we're sending Jaden Daniels for Derrick Henry in a dynasty. If this is a dynasty league, if this is a redraft format where we have Josh Allen, obviously do this in a no-brainer. You go and get Derrick Henry. I don't care. Even if this is a dynasty league where you have Josh Allen, you can't make this deal. You need way more value. Derrick Henry's, I know I'm always the idiot that screams the end is near with Derrick Henry, and it never is, because apparently he is the toughest man on this planet. But I'm not trading Jaden Daniels for any running back in Dynasty that's going to be 32 years old in a couple months. So I'd go Daniels here. In Dynasty, redraft, you go get Derrick Henry. It's not a question. Now, C-Spaz, this is James Cook, Tet versus Amari Hampton, Travis Hunter, and Rome. James Cook, Hampton, tomato for me. I'm super excited about the Hampton usage. Tet to Hunter and Rome, I'd rather have Tet. The issue is this is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. I don't think Rome Odunze is doing much for you here. If this was a 12-team league or a league where you had multiple flex spots, I'd definitely take the other end of this deal. And it's close, don't get me wrong. I just don't know if it's like the kind of trade you want to be making in your format. Now, Kobe Bryant coming through. This is Amari Hampton, Xavier Worthy versus Kamara and J-Mo. Most people would rather have Kamara over Hampton. I would not. I think that you actually have a much higher ceiling long-term with Hampton because the offense that these running backs are in. If I were to do... But you get Jameson as like a free. Honestly, I still would rather have Hampton over Kamara, but Worthy may be a 0, and Jameson Williams could be somebody that we can use in this format, so I would go and get Kamara. Trailers, trading the Seattle backs, Keon Coleman, Tyler Warren for Chase Brown, Michael Pittman, and Tucker Kraft. Give me Chase Brown easily over the Seattle backfield. Michael Pittman, Keon Coleman, give me Tyler Warren over Tucker Kraft. I'm going to get the best player in the deal, though. I'm going to go with Chase Brown in a league where you only start 2 receivers and 1 flex, and it's a 10-team format. The thing with Seattle is if you have both those backs and they split the backfield 50-50, you may not be excited about either one. Oscar trading Kyron and Debo for Derrick Henry. This is a 14-team league, so the options on the waiver wire are going to be way worse for us to backfill with. You have Quentin Johnson, Kayshon Boutte, Deonta Thornton, and that's about it. But I think just from a value perspective, you probably have to get Derrick Henry. I want to say, Derrick Henry doesn't catch the ball, but neither does Kyron Williams. And Derrick Henry has bigger plays. Marker word, this is JCM and Amari Hampton versus Malik Neighbors. This is Malik Neighbors, not even really close, even with this being a 14-team format where the depth is a little bit harder to come by. But you know what? Never mind. I can't tell you to make the trade. It's just freaking, what do we have on the waiver wire? Byshell Toon, DJ Giddens, Will Shipley at running back. Here's the situation. Obviously, Malik Neighbors is worth significantly more than the combination of Amari and Hampton as well as Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. But with that being said, you make this trade, Your running back 1 is RJ Harvey, and our running back 2 is Tank Bigsby. So I would be very nervous for this. Like, can y'all spam the chat? Would you be willing? What side do you want here? Are you willing to take Malik Neighbors if it makes your running back 1 RB2 combo RJ Harvey and Tank Bigsby? Or are you just going to take the side with less value with Damari Hampton and Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt? Like, are you willing to destroy your running back room just to get the better value? We got yes, no, yes, yes. No, no, no. No, no, yes. No, 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 no. No, no, no. So it looks like most people are saying no here, which again, my instant gut reaction is like, oh my gosh, yeah, Malik Neighbors has so much value, but checking your team in the 14-team format, checking the waiver wire, absolutely brutal, but I think you have to keep Hampton and JCM here. Now, Andrew, with our next question, this is a dynasty trade where we're sending McBride, Pittman, and a first for Puka and Sharps. Not a tight end premium format. Start 8-1 quarterback, so the first round pick is going to be worth a little bit less. Pittman, 12 months from now in dynasty, may not be much, and Puka Nacua looks like he is truly turning into like a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson level player, as crazy as that sounds. So yeah, I in dynasty think I would go ahead, and I think I actually would take the Puka side. It's scary for sure. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think this is like the easiest thing in the world. But with how good Puka is, it is going to be tough to get away from it. Like, Puka last year averaged over 4 yards per route run, I'm pretty sure. And at the same time, this year, he's currently sitting at over 5 yards per route run. Now, Orlando with our next one. This is Keon Coleman, Cortland Sutton versus Amari and Hampton. For me, I think in a 10-team league like this, start 8. Wide receiver left over, we'd have Evans, Tet, Rome, Ridley. Running back right now, we'd have Achane, Chase Brown, Amari, and Hampton. Most people are going to disagree with me, but I'd rather have the Amari and Hampton side. I am very excited about Hampton. I'm trying to buy him anywhere I can. Tricky Mitch is struggling to get a running back. Also, congrats on the engagement. Thank you so much, my friend. Here, JSN looks like an absolute crusher. We did move JSN ahead of Kyron Williams in our rankings. Kyron still looks to be a 3-down player. We have Genty RB1, Jalen Warren RB2, Judkins RB3. Right now we have Puka, Tyreek, DJ Moore, Travis Hunter, and you'd pick up Michael Pittman Jr. So this is a fine price point to do it. Like, I definitely would rather have JSN here in a full PPR format over Kyron Williams rest of season, but I agree you are probably pretty running back needy. And Kyron Williams is in a similar ballpark to JSN. They're not way off. Buddy, this is Breece and Evan Ingram versus Kyler and Tyler Warren. Give me Tyler Ward over Breece and give me Kyler over Evan Ingram. I'm sorry, give me Breece over Tyler Ward and Kyler over Evan Ingram. Running back left over, we'd have Jonathan Taylor, Amari and Hampton, Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt. So I want the best player here. I want Breece Hall. Like, Breece dominated and looked phenomenal in New York, while Braylon Allen didn't look like much. If you were to make this trade instead of trading Breece, what I would look to do here is like, could we trade like Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt and Trevor Lawrence instead? Like, if you could get this deal done, which would be an absolute no-brainer if possible, it's probably not, then yeah, let's go for it. But Breece Hall would be a tough sell for me. Hyperbot says, trade Debo for Keenan. I would not. Move both players up our rankings, but even if you have Josh Allen, like what we needed realistically, like let's pull this up. And trust me, I like Keon Coleman. We have Keon Coleman in a decent amount of best ball leagues. Y'all know we made some videos over the past few years hyping up Keon. Keon comes through and he smashes with 100 and 12 receiving yards, the receiving touchdown, and 8 receptions. And I just moved Keon up my rankings a considerable amount. He's 80 overall. But what did it take? It took Josh Allen to have 400 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. So I would rather have Debo here. Not the easiest call in the world by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, you absolutely have to take Debo over Keon Coleman or you're an idiot, because Keon Coleman had a similar rookie season to Rome Odunze. Obviously, Debo was really bad last year. Typically, we're wanting the ascending player, and I'm wanting to sell off the guy that's descending. But I don't think we can here. I think we got to take Debo. Now, bide with our next trade. And let me do something real quick. Let's make it public. Trading Travis Etienne and Breece Hall for Bucky Irving. So I have Travis Etienne in the Flock League, and I would really, really hope to be able to get this kind of price point for him. But if you look at Bucky, what was really interesting and what was really exciting if you drafted him is last year he won off of efficiency. Like, Bucky Irving was crushing at the end of the season over and over and over again, based off what he gave you as a receiver, based off the big plays, based off the touchdowns. But the snaps, he was splitting 50-50 still with Rachaad White, funny enough. We didn't see that week 1. Week 1, you had Bucky Irving operating as a true 3-down workhorse. So for me, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Bucky Irving on this. I would love to sell Travis Etienne at this price point. But Travis Etienne looks like he's going to crush this week because we just pulled it up and he gets to go up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay. Now, Sean is trading Najee and Davante Adams for Tyron Tracy and T. Higgins. So how I break this down is I would way rather have T. Higgins over Davante Adams. I understand that Higgins was a bum week 1. The Bengals offense had less than 10 yards in the second half. It was a complete train wreck. But Davante Adams was in a fine offensive environment and still didn't do anything. And that's under the context that, Puka Nacua was in and out of the game. But anyway, you can say, worst case scenario, T. Higgins and Davante Adams, they're the same, right? I have them ranked wide receiver 16 and wide receiver 19. And I would way rather have Tyron Tracy over Najee Harris. So I'm taking the Tracy and T. Higgins side here. Not too hard either. Now, real quick, we're going to give away some free questions in the stream in 1 second. We'll pick multiple people to give the free questions to. All I ask is if you want to be entered, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We are on a path to 300,000 subscribers. I never thought it could ever happen, but it looks like we have a shot this season. And drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. Even if you have a free account, you will be eligible as long as you use code FLOCK on flockfantasy.com and you hit that like button and you're subscribed. Now, Eli Dorton with our next question. Here we're trading Kyler, Hampton, Derrick Henry for Bijan and Purdy. Derrick Henry to Bijan, same tier for me, but give me Bijan in a full PPR format. Give me Kyler over Purdy. You're selling Amari and Hampton to get this done. I think I would rather value Hampton here, to be honest. But Swag Piglet, funny name. This is Dobbins and T. Higgins versus Nico Collins. I would rather have Nico. Dobbins, you're going to see the role shrink over time to RJ Harvey. K-Baked, here we need a quarterback. I would way rather... Actually, Lawrence has a fine matchup week 2. Just Lawrence looked horrible week 1. But good matchup week 2 if you want to start him. Tight end, you're going to have to stream somebody. My recommendations would be Hunter Henry, if you can grab him. If not, maybe Jawan Johnson, but Kittle's not going to be playable. And then there in the flex, you're probably going to assume that you're playing full PBR format. F it. I'm obviously going to update our rankings a ton as the week goes on. Like I said, I would not recommend asking me a start-sit question for week 2 right now. I have not looked at any projections. I don't even know what these matchups are. But if you go with an instant gut reaction, I would probably go Olave over the Seattle backs. Now, Matt Tucker with a trade. This is Jacobs, Devonta Smith, Hollywood Brown for DeAndre Swift and Brian Thomas. Give me Jacobs over Brian Thomas, Smith versus Swift, up to you. Hollywood Brown in a league like this may actually matter. It really comes down to what your expectations are with DeAndre Swift. But here, let me give away some free questions real quick, and then I'll ask the chats what they think. It also kind of comes down to who would you rather have, Jacobs or Brian Thomas rest of season? I've moved Jacobs ahead of Brian Thomas in my rankings. We do have them at RB 10 and wide receiver 10 respectively. But Matty Ice, let me send you over some free questions here. Just found you and just sent you over some free questions. I'd be happy to check out whatever you want. And let's find somebody else as well. Let's go nacho cheese. Nacho cheese, I just sent you over some free questions too. Be super happy to check out anything that you want from me. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in the live stream. Now that we've got those free questions out, next thing I got to ask y'all is, who would you rather have rest of season? Please let me and Matt know in the chat right now. Would you rather have Brian Thomas or Josh Jacobs? Full PPR format where you can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. So assume it's a league with 2 wide receiver starting spots and 2 flexes. This is just like the flock league scoring. We got Jacobs, Thomas, Thomas, Jacobs, Thomas, Jacobs, Thomas, Thomas, Jacobs, Jacobs, Thomas. Thomas, Jacobs, Jacobs, Thomas, Jacobs, Thomas, Jacobs, 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 Thomas, Jacobs, Thomas, Thomas, Jacobs, 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 Thomas, Thomas, Jacobs, Jacobs. So it does look like it's maybe like 60-40, but most people are agreeing with Josh Jacobs. And if you value Josh Jacobs over Brian Thomas, I think you're going to go with the left side over the right. Now, J Rule, this is Tyron Tracy, Matthew Golden, Jamar Chase versus DJ Moore, Brian Thomas, James Cook, and Javonte. So Tracy, Javonte, tomato, motto, it's up to you. Matthew Golden, DJ Moore, give me DJ Moore. Jamar Chase versus Brian Thomas and James Cook, give me Jamar Chase. Okay. After we make this deal, so here's the issue with our team. Luther Burden's not startable, and we just lost Xavier Worthy, and we don't know if Matthew Golden's startable either. So our starting lineup before we make this trade in week 2 is at running back, we have the combination of Amari Hampton and Tyrone Tracy. Wide receiver, we have Jamar Chase and Stephon Diggs. And then in the 2 flex spots, we have, dear God, Matthew Golden, who doesn't look like somebody you're excited to start, and maybe Jordan Mason. So raw value side, I think I'm going to take the Jamar Chase into this. However, given your league settings where depth matters a little bit more and our team looks like it just got nuked, I think you go ahead and you can consider the other side. The value side is on the Jamar Chase side of this, but I completely understand if you're fine taking the value loss because the Xavier Worthy injury in a league where you need depth, picking up the extra starter actually could make a difference for you. Now, Ibasola is trading Mike Evans and Stephon Diggs for Brock Bowers. I mean, Diggs is listed as day-to-day, so this is Brock Bowers. Bowers listed day-to-day, so this is Bowers easily for me. Like, I have Diggs on my team, and I would love to try to get that price point for him. But let's see what we got with our next few questions. Okay, so we got some of the team reviews to get through as well. Schmitty here. For the flex, we are going to go ahead and I think this next week you probably expect to start Tyrone Tracy. Let me pull back up what the matchups are because, again, I have not memorized these yet. We have to just completely abandon what the week 1. Okay, so you actually have the Giants projected outscore 20 points this week with the implied team total. That's the same as the Atlanta Falcons, only ahead of the Browns, Saints, Titans, Seahawks, Jets, and Panthers. 4.5 point dogs against the Dallas Cowboys. But anyway, that should be a better game environment when they were in this past week. And it looks like Tyrone Tracy is in a really good spot to have a 3-down workload before Scadaboo expands his role. Now, G Money, this is Lamar, Rashee Rice, Brian Thomas versus Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey, and Jamar Chase. Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, give me Brian Thomas, but it's not that far off. Lamar Jackson versus Jamar Chase, give me Jamar Chase easily. I think we're going to go with like Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas, take him out of the deal. Would I rather have Jamar Chase and Justin Herbert or Rashee Rice and Lamar Jackson? I'd rather have Jamar Chase. So we're going to go with the Chase side. I don't think Chase is going to go from being the Triple Crown winner to all of a sudden being unusable in fantasy. The offensive line may be garbage. The coaching staff may be garbage in Cincinnati, but you have a great quarterback and you have arguably the most talented wide receiver in the league, or at least top 3. Okay. Now, Live Dependency says, is this a good trade with Walker being trash? London to Jacobs. I have London slightly ahead of him, obviously full PPR format, but London is banged up a little bit. Marvin Harrison versus Kenneth Walker. Give me Marvin Harrison. It's not even really close. Yes, I'd 100% go out there and make this trade. I also myself traded Drake London to Josh Jacobs to upgrade at a couple other spots, which did end up winning me week 1. I don't want to speak too early. If DJ Moore has a 40-point performance, maybe I lose, but if I did not make that trade with Danny, I would have lost week 1 in the Flock League. Thank you, Josh Allen. Now, Miriam coming through. This is Garrett Wilson and Ramondre versus Drake London. Ramondre, yeah, he's the starting running back for the Patriots right now, but who knows how long that lasts. Give me London. Now, let's move this over. This is a team review from Titan. My guy, I really appreciate you. Let me send you over some free questions here. And real quick, I know that this maybe is a little bit confusing. If you go to the site and try to select me for a team review, they are turned off. And again, like we turned on team reviews for just like 10 minutes earlier and we had like 10 come in, and these take me a long time. So I have team reviews turned off 99% of the time, and I'll turn them on like once a day for like 5 to 10 minutes for you to be able to submit it. But if you're in the live stream, I'll let you know when they are turned on if you ever wanted to get one. You just kind of got to be in the right place at the right time. Now, Titan VTS. Here, this is JSN We Trust. This is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So with this league specifically, the quarterback is king. The elite tight end is king. You can only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. The wide receiver depth's going to be super easy to come by. Quarterback's going to make up a super high percentage of our starting lineup output weekly. So if I were to look at doing this, dear God. I think we probably cut Caleb here, regardless of how good he is in the game tonight. Because you go over to the waiver wire, you have Jaden Reed, Josh Downs, Hollywood Brown. Running back, you have Trey Benson. There's no world in which we ever start Caleb Williams. So I'd cut Caleb, pick up, and a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. I would consider Trey Benson just because I think he has a higher ceiling if you were to get a James Conner injury. But because we have no Rashee Rice in the short term, I'd probably pick up Jaden Reed instead. So cut Caleb, pick up Jaden Reed. I would be very interested to see if we can trade a wide receiver here for an elite tight end. Because Mark Andrews looks like he is total dust in the wind. For us to have an 80-point game last night, and Mark Andrews with no Isaiah Likely to give us literally nothing. Like in Tucker Kraft, in a game in which Jaden Reed's banged up, to give us nothing. It is very difficult to like say we could ever trust either tight ends. And it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So I want to build around the elite onesies. Can we send Ladd McConkey and try to go get Brock Bowers, try to go get Trey McBride? I would, even with Kittle being injured, I would send Rashee Rice. I would send Travis Hunter for George Kittle. Because the fact of the matter is it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. We can jam Barkley RB1, Hampton RB2, Tracy in the flex. We can start Ladd. We can start Mike Evans in the first 2 weeks. In the first 2 wide receiver spots anyway. So you have a great team. I would cut Caleb. I would pick up Reed. I would try to sell one of our top end wide receivers for a top end tight end. And if you're able to, I would consider cutting Tucker Kraft and picking up Josh Downs as well. Unless, obviously, if that tight end you were to trade for is George Kittle, then we're still jamming in Tucker Kraft. And maybe I am overreacting to Kraft not giving us anything week 1, but I just was really hoping that he was going to crush. Given Matthew Golden not doing anything, Jaden Reed being banged up, I thought it was a good environment for him, and he did really not much. So, in a 10-team league, clearly I think the worst position here in a 2 wide receiver 1 flex is going to be tight ends. I would like to upgrade it by trying to sell one of the receivers. Obviously, would be willing to package him with Tucker Kraft to get it done. So I'm offering Ladd and Kraft for Bowers, Ladd and Kraft for McBride, Rice, and I'm not even including Kraft because we'll need Kraft to start in the short term. If we trade Rice for Kittle, Hunter for Kittle. And then cut Caleb and pick up Jaden Reed. But I really appreciate you. You have a great team. Obviously, we're second in the league analyzer. And I would assume as well that we are probably 1-0 based off the Josh Allen performance. It's very similar to my team as well. I also have Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley. But wishing both of us the best of luck this year with that combo, my friend. Now, Lions with our next trade question. Here we're trading a future first and third for Derrick Henry in a 12-team Superflex format. So I will say in a dynasty league in the offseason, of course, the rookie picks are going to be worth more than Derrick Henry. But if this trade wins you the league, it's completely reasonable for you to go out there and make it. So it's just going to come down to, for you, how much do you feel that this puts you over the top? And do you think you win the league if you get Derrick Henry? But in the offseason, the picks are going to be worth more for sure. Now, Grand Lake Rocks, happy to see it, says, just did a trade with Jones for Pickens. Tried to get Igbuka, but they wouldn't bite. Going to be targeting Coleman and Brown for wide receiver and Sampson and Judkins as running backs off the waiver wire. Love to hear the thoughts. Best fantasy creator on team. Really appreciate you, my friend. I'm really excited to look at this. Let me send you over some questions. I know you're always in the chat with us. Hell, you're probably in the chat right now, to be honest. So this is Ferdinand's team. We are currently second in the league analyzer. Looking at the quarterbacks off the waiver wire, like Daniel Jones would be the best play. I'm probably not this week. I wouldn't consider dropping Trevor Lawrence for Daniel Jones because Lawrence is a great matchup. But effectively, you are probably playing the matchups between these two quarterbacks going into the future. And if Lawrence disappoints again, I wouldn't mind dropping him for Jones because Jones does give you the rushing upside. And Grand Lakes is in the chat. As we go through this, please ask me any additional questions you have. So I know we are looking at Quinshawn and Dylan Sampson off the waiver wire running back. Okay. Grand Lake Rocks, can you confirm? Is this a non-PPR format? Because if this is a non-PPR format, our strategy is going to change a considerable amount. Emmanuel says, Mason, are you excited to get married? Yes, sir, I am. Grand Lake Rock says it is a PPR league. Okay, good to know. As I was going to tell you in a non-PPR format, cut Josh Downs for Quinshawn. But here, if it's a full PPR format, I don't know if our wide receiver room is strong enough to do so. Here's my thing with this team. Running back 1's Bijan. Running back 2, long-term's Trevion. Short-term, maybe Jalen Warren, depending on matchup. Wide receiver, we jam London and Wilson. And then the flex, depending on what happens tonight, maybe it's Aaron Jones going into the future. Maybe it's Devonta Smith. But we don't have a lot of expendable value. If I tell you to trade away Garrett Wilson and London misses any time, you're going to be screwed. We can't have Devonta Smith and Josh Downs as our top 2 wide receivers. With this being a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, you already know what I'm going to say. You already know I want to find a way to get to the elite level quarterback when we have a good enough team where we are top 2 in the league analyzer. We have Bijan, London, Bowers, Garrett Wilson, Trevion all on the same team. Here's what I realistically do, and here's the expendable piece that I actually think you can get some value for. Jalen Warren. There are a lot of teams out there that could use Jaylen Warren as a starter right now, given the fact that he just is the full-blown guy over Caleb Johnson, as well as Kenneth Gainwell in the short term here. Like, let's go ahead and let's sort this by the worst running back rooms in this league. But for us specifically, we don't need Jaylen Warren. We are strong enough where it's not really a factor. This team has DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Walker, Rachaad White. Obviously, they could use Jaylen Warren. The issue is this team's also so bad that I can't even spot a first or a second round pick on their team. I have no idea what the hell they did. So I don't even know who we'd be looking to trade for if we were to send a trade with them. Maybe you could send them Jaylen Warren and Devonta Smith to try to get to T. Higgins. This team over here has Austin Eckler as their RB2. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 1. I would love if there is any world in which we can send them Jaylen Warren and Garrett Wilson to get to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They look clueless. They have 3 quarterbacks on their roster. Maybe there's a chance they do that. This team is Pacheco and Dobbins, RB2, RB3, Kamara, RB1. Is there a world in which we can send them Jaylen Warren and Drake London to get to Jefferson? This team is Montgomery, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, RBs 2 through 4. Can we send them Jaylen Warren and Garrett Wilson to get to Nico Collins? This team is Caleb Johnson, their RB3. Can we send them Jaylen Warren and Devonta Smith to get to Mike Evans? Turn theory, I'm going to say this as respectfully as I can. I'm going to answer the questions in whatever order I want. We're not going to skip by this team review just because you want to. So for me, I think the leverage point that you have is Jaylen Warren because he's arguably your running back 4 on this team. And Charbonnet may look viable as well. Jaylen Warren is never going to get you an elite level quarterback for you to package in with Dak or Lawrence. So really the only possible way that we can extract value out of him is packaging Jaylen Warren with one of the receivers to get an upgrade at wide receiver. And I do think that's something that we should be interested in because, again, going right back to it, we don't need the Jaylen Warren production, but a lot of those teams we looked at, Jaylen Warren would be a locked and loaded starter for them at the beginning of the season. And again, I do want to reiterate that Jaylen Warren is one of these players that kind of has an expiration date. You look at Jaylen Warren and you can say, oh, okay, well, eventually Caleb Johnson is going to expand his role in this backfield. So, like, even if we were to wait till we get to the bye weeks where we're in like halfway through the season and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, maybe I need the running back depth. Maybe Jaylen Warren's not even startable then. So I think you extract the value you can from Jaylen Warren, including him in a wide receiver deal to go get an upgrade at that position. But hopefully I was able to, hopefully one of those offers we sent is able to go through. And like I said, we sent you over some free vouchers as well. So if you get any counters, if you have anything else that you want us to pivot to, I'd be happy to try to help you out. Now let's move this over and turn theory. Yeah, I'm sorry for me to be a little rude. I may or may not be a little hungry, which I apologize for. James, welcome to being a Mother Flocker. Baberto says, for the team review included in the Mother Flocker package, you have to pay the annual fee up front. Yes, if you want to get the free team review with the annual package on flockfantasy.com, you cannot get it with the free trial. Because in that case, just everybody would go and sign up for a free trial, submit their team, and then cancel the trial. So hopefully that helps. But OJ Godframe, longtime member of the flock, we'll go ahead and set you up some questions by guys. Says, honestly, don't know what to think. Team was ranked number 1 by far in the league analyzer before the season started, and we barely cracked 100 points in a full PBR format. Finished as the 10th best team week 1. Thinking of trading Burrow to Gall and with Chase, but I don't know anyone else to trade for anyway. So looks like, yeah, we did drop in the league analyzer after week 1 down to the 2nd spot. So what happened week 1 for us? So we had Jamar Chase. That's what happened. Yeah, if you had Jamar Chase and the Bengals offense imploded the way that we saw it, we are going to slide down the league analyzer quite a bit. What I hate with our team is the fact that we are rostering 3 tight ends right now. I'm okay with us rostering 2 quarterbacks. You can do you. It's a 12-team format. The options on the waiver wire aren't as strong as other leagues like Miles Sanders, Keaton Mitchell, Dameon Pierce, Condre Miller, like the running backs. Wide receiver, you have like Quentin Johnson, Kayshon Abudi, Troy Franklin, Alec Pierce. But it's a league in which you can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. So the wide receiver depth does matter a bit here. So for me, I would very easily go through and drop Zach Ertz, and I would pick up Quentin Johnston, or I'd pick up Kayshon Boutte, especially with us not having Chris Godwin early in the season. I think the wide receiver depth's going to matter, especially positionally, where David Montgomery may not look like he's a viable starter. And at the same time, you go through and you look at what we get with Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, we don't know if we're going to have him at any point this year. So I think I would look to build out our skill positional depth. For that reason, I don't think we can be rostering a total of 5 QBs and tight ends. So I would drop Zach Ertz. I'd pick up Quentin Johnston if we could. If not, I'd go over to Kayshon Boutte. If not, I'd go over to Troy Franklin. Looking at quarterback, we're just going to be playing the matchups between Baker Mayfield and Justin Fields. If you could take Justin Fields, package him with David Montgomery, and go get a significant upgrade at running back, we would, but much easier said than done. Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs being our running back 1 and RB2. These are running backs that we can jam every single week. We don't really need to be that hesitant either here. We have David Montgomery as pretty much just, I want to say, a handcuff at this point that is more so a desperation star. Like, it looks like Montgomery is really trending towards being just like Zach Charbonnet. And if this offense is worse in Detroit, obviously we're not as excited about that role. Then we have Chase, Metcalf, Devonta Smith, Rome, and then we have Godwin in the long term, and then we have Loveland and Dallas Goedert. So realistically, I still think that you have a really good team. I think that your team is going to be completely fine. If I were you, what I would be concerned with is maybe the running back depth if David Montgomery turns out to not be a reliable option for us. But in terms of us going through and making any trades to like fix that or make sure that's not a problem, I don't want to overreact right now because we don't have the flexibility since we have no Mixon and we have no Godwin as well. And this is a league where the skill positional depth matters a decent amount. So making those 2-for-1 deals will inherently just be a little bit riskier. So what I would opt to do is I would probably sit on our hands as of now when it comes to trades. However, if you were going to be looking at moves that we can make today, in my opinion, the pretty easy move would just be dropping Zach Ertz, picking up the best available wide receiver off the waiver wire, which hopefully we can get Quentin Johnston, but obviously we will have a little bit of flexibility here just in case that doesn't work out. But I really appreciate you. I sent you over some free questions. So if there's anything else that you want me to talk about, I'd be super happy to try to help you out any way that I can, my friend. Now let's move this over to our next one. This is D. This is an 11-team league. Pretty funny. I'm dropping 2 quarterbacks after the game tonight. So other than that, do you have any advice on the team? I came in dead last in points this week. We'll also be starting Igbuka over Tet next week with there only being 1 flex. Okay, so let me go ahead and set you up with some free questions for the long term here, my friend. I really do appreciate you. And we are the number 1 team in the league analyzer. Oh, dear God. You said, I'm dropping 2 quarterbacks after the game tonight. Okay. I was going to say, I initially read it as if we were dropping 1 quarterback in my mind. Maybe I said out loud that we were dropping 2. But in my mind, I was like, oh, we're dropping a quarterback. But no. We're currently rostering 4 QBs. So, yeah, we have to pick and choose the 2 guys that we're going to be dropping. If I were to look at this, I would say that, like, I would probably drop Trevor Lawrence. My only hesitation with telling you to for sure drop Lawrence is Lawrence is a really strong matchup this next week going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. But honestly, depending on what happens to the game tonight, obviously we're going to get a lot more clarity with Caleb and McCarthy as well. Maybe one of these offenses absolutely implode and you're like, oh, okay. Well, now all of a sudden we thought Caleb was going to crush. He didn't. Or we thought McCarthy was going to crush and McCarthy looks like Bryce Young. Not saying that's going to happen, but it's a possibility. We'll see what happens. Then you obviously can pivot the guys that you drop. But for now, I'd be planning on probably dropping McCarthy and Lawrence. The guys that we'd be picking up off the waiver wire, you don't have phenomenal waiver wire options. This is a league where you can only start 2 wide receivers, so the wide receiver depth's not as important. So as we look at this, like Quentin Johnston and Rashad Bateman, you know what? Realistically, I need to move Bateman even further down the ranks. Like, I think I'd rather have Cooper Kupp and Christian Kirk over Bateman. Hell, I'd rather have Luther Burden over Bateman. Let me change that. So I'd probably drop up I'd probably pick up Quentin Johnston and then either Christian Kirk or DJ Giddens. If your league was one where you had multiple flex spots, I would probably opt to go with Christian Kirk. But since you only have one flex spot and can only start 3 wide receivers at the very most, and we already have Chase, Evans, Tet, and Igbuka, then the Christian Kirk pickup isn't as exciting. And then running back, we have Bucky, we have Trevion and RJ Harvey in the long term. So frankly, we just kind of have to wait for them to become viable options. Then we have Quinshon Judkins in the long term. We have Nick Chubb for an absolute desperation short-term fill-in. So running back strong, wide receiver strong. We have the elite tight end in a league where you can only start 2 wide receivers in a flex. I really like that as well. And again, with this being said, you are the number 1 team in the league analyzer. I know these Jamar Chase teams obviously are going to get absolutely crushed week 1 when Jamar Chase face plants with how bad the Cincinnati Bengals offense was. But going into the future, I would expect that Chase and the Bengals offense will be much, much better than what they were. So realistically, I don't want to make a trade with your team. If we can pick up Quentin Johnston and like Christian Kirk, and then all of a sudden like Bo, Tet, and Igbuka break out and they're massive contributors, then maybe at that point we could afford to sell Mike Evans and try to get ourselves an elite level QB. But the fact of the matter is, when you have Trevion, when you have Harvey, when you have Judkins, when you have Tet, when you have Igbuka, you drafted 5 rookies that are relevant pieces that of course are going to start a little slow week 1 and are just going to take a little time to get ramped up. So I think you just got to show a little bit of patience with the team. I think the team's going to be fine in the long term. Make the waiver wire pivots. We sent you over some free questions. So of course, if you had anything that you want to follow up with this, I'd be super happy to try to help you out in any way that I can. But let's mark that complete. And we are going to get to some start sit questions, some trade questions, but let me give you all a bunch of free questions in the chat right now. I appreciate everybody hanging out with us. So if you wanted to qualify to get some free questions, which we're giving away every single stream, we're giving away a ton. Yesterday, we maybe gave away 200 free questions. All you got to do is subscribe, drop a like on this live stream, and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. Even if you have a free account, you're completely eligible to win these free vouchers to get questions in all year long. So again, just hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. I'm going to be live streaming every single day until Christmas, answering your questions. But we'll go ahead and pick out some names. We got Trey Young. We'll send you over some. Funny enough, I actually, like one of the very few University of Texas games I ever went to was the Trey Young Mo Bamba game. This is probably no relevance to y'all whatsoever. But when I was at the University of Texas, Mo Bamba was a pretty big deal. We thought he was going to be great, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, OU's our biggest rival. So we played OU in Austin. And Trey Young, watching that game, was the best college basketball player I'd ever seen in person. He was incredible. It was insane. We sent you over some free questions, and let's send some over to your mama's house as well. Yo mama's house. And honestly, let's give it to somebody too. And honestly, I can't even find your mama's house. I can only find you on my users page if you use code FLOCK when you signed up to Underdog. So make sure, if you did not use code FLOCK, go to your account page and you can add a promo code if you have not used a promo code yet. I cannot find free bow jobs either. I'm assuming it's the same issue. I'm assuming you did not put in code FLOCK. Let's see if we can find LaBoss 101. I cannot find you either. Dear God, what is going on here? Let's go Jack06. Jack06, I found you, and we just sent you over some free questions as well. Appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream. And let me go through and get back over to the start sit questions and the ones that we got to answer trade-wise as well. So this one's from Shane. Right now we have Pickens in the flex. I'd probably leave your lineup as is this next week. The only thing that we would potentially change, of course, is if you have Rome Odunze absolutely crushing tonight, which there's a very wide range of outcomes with Rome, you could pivot from Pickens to Rome in the future. Okay. Now let's move this over to our next one. Am Hoffa with a trade. We're trading Achane and Adams for Chase Brown and Neighbors. So for me, based off how bad Miami looked week 1, I have more faith in the Cincinnati backfield bouncing back. I mean, the Cincinnati offense bouncing back than I would with the Miami one. So I would rather have Chase Brown over Achane, and I would way rather have Malik Neighbors over Devontae Adams. So this is going to be the Chase Brown side pretty easily for me. Now, ironclad, here we got wide receiver. We're going to go with this next week, Sutton over Flowers. Flowers had a really good matchup this past one. We're going to go James Conner as well. I think Zay Flowers is probably going to let people down this week in comparison to what he did a week ago, because this week they're going up against a much worse team that they're probably not going to have to throw the ball as much. And we have obviously a bunch of team reviews, but we got to get to the fast questions first, just in case anybody has any start-sit questions for tonight. I will ask that if you submit a start-sit question for tonight's games, please make sure that you do it as a super message and just tell me that it's week 1, because if you submit it like a normal thing like this, I'm going to assume that you're honestly doing it for week 2. Or make it very obvious where it's like an empty wide receiver spot and we're choosing between DJ Moore or Rome Odunze or something. But frolicking effort, if you all don't know, he has been a long time member of the flock, I believe with us since 2020. You know, I appreciate you, my guy, and I'm happy to see that you're still rocking with us. But thank you, of course. Now, Pickle with our next question. Running back, you play Genty over JCM and Jalen Warren. Do not stress. Wide receiver, we got Keenan, Diggs, Pearsall. I'm going to go with, I know you got Mike Evans. Play Mike Evans. And then for the flex spots, I'm going to go with Ricky Pearsall over Flowers this week, given the injuries, and over George Pickens. Half PBR formats, so the running backs, very interesting for me. Again, I don't even know the matchups yet. Like I said, I would not recommend sending me in start-sit questions on Monday. Not only does that go for this Monday, but any Monday going into the future. And let me pull up what we have with the projections for the Steelers offense. Steelers project 21.5 points. Going up against the Seahawks, they're 2.5-point favorites. Washington, has a tough matchup against the Packers. Looks like the Packers may just have one of the best defenses in the league this week, because Washington projects to be a middle-of-the-road offense now. We have the Cowboys going up against the Giants, 4.5-point favorites. And then we have the Ravens projected to be the highest scoring team in the NFL. But there's an 11.5-point spread on that game where they're probably just going to run it over and over and over again with Derrick Henry. So if I had to go with an option here, it's going to be close. Obviously, I'm going to change my mind 10 times by the time we get to making our actual rankings. So again, I would recommend not asking me too many start-sit questions. I'm going to try my best to answer them, of course, if you sent it in. But Strange Linson, I can't see your team if you just send in a super message. I can only really see it if it's a roster review. I'll send in a free start-sit question if you ever wanted to send one of those in. And I know we have roster reviews turned off right now. We just are too far backed up on them. And I know people get very, very mad at that the roster reviews, one, they're free if you're an annual mother flocker. You get a free one every year. But 2, they're anywhere from $50 to $79, depending on your status with the site, your account, if you are a member or not. But realistically, if we were trying to just make the most money possible, I would just make the team reviews $300, and we'd probably be able to answer just as many within a singular day. But obviously, I'd feel horrendous for doing that. So we're going to keep it where it's only open for about 10 minutes a day. And we will, what's it called? Just get to as many of them as I possibly can. Now, Fantasy GM with our next question. 14-team league. So in terms of the bench options, should be limited. I'm not going to play RJ Harvey in the flex spot over any of these guys. The only pivot would be like Rome Odunze over Jamison Williams in week 2, dependent on what happens tonight. So we are going to leave this as is for week 2. Now, Mark DJ, here, my guy, I don't know exactly what you are asking. We have RJ Harvey and Rashee Rice versus a blank side. So I'm going to send you over another free question. Please throw something in the next side. Okay, now Brady Evans with the start sit says, I'm getting Fields off of waivers. Sutton Higgins going to be close for me. I'm going to go T. Higgins. Honestly, I think you get a bounce back for the Cincinnati Bengals offense this next week. They project to be the second highest scoring offense in the league. And then what we have with the Broncos actually don't project to outscore a ton of points this next week. 23.5 against the Colts. The Cardinals project actually to be the third highest scoring offense in the league this week. For that reason, I think you jam Marv here in the flex. Hell, I may even tell you to play Marv over Higgins. Actually, Marv will probably be over Higgins in my rankings this week. Now, Chase Neighbors, appreciate you, my friend. Know we get you those free questions early in the stream. So it looks like for this next week, I think your plan's probably going to be Keon Coleman and Rome Odunze. Except if Rome Odunze just absolutely is horrendous tonight, then you would obviously pivot over to like Khalil Shakir instead. Lil J Money says, yeah, bro, said $300. Realistically, because the time I have, we can only answer about 10 to 15 team reviews a day at this point. They get filled within 10 to 15 minutes of us having that open. I promise you, if we put team reviews at $300, we would sell 10 to 15. It'd be the same amount that I can do now. But we're not going to do it because I think that'll be they're not worth anything close to that. And I don't want to sell something that's not worth anything close to that. Now, Jay Stenzoni here for the flex. We got people saying that Purdy's injured. Dear God. Let me pull this up. So we got there, I see already. Oh my gosh. Brock Purdy uncertain for week 2. Okay, so here, Jason Stoney, let me answer this and then we'll pivot over and we'll talk some Niners. I think you're more likely than not going to be playing Josh Downs in your second flex spot this week, but you're not that excited about it. So let me go ahead and let's pull up the rankings on the site and let's figure out this together. But I also need to probably change the thumbnail and the title of this. This is insane. Okay, let me see if I can find... On the drive, do we have a Niners thumbnail? Yes, we do. What's hilarious is so if something happens like this, I go over to the Google Drive from I share with the editor, and I just find is there a thumbnail that has the player on it already? And this is the thumbnail. So it's like me getting excited about a Purdy injury, but I just don't have the time to make one right now. So we got to throw this on it. So when people are going to see this, they're going to get not that excited. Sure. Okay. Okay, so let's figure this out. Brock Purdy injured, answering fantasy football questions. Let's figure out where we are ranking him now. Because not only do we have to update the rankings with Brock Purdy, we have to update the rankings with Kittle. We have to update the rankings with Ricky Pearsall. We have to update the rankings with CMC. And we have to update the rankings with Jennings, and we already have somebody that really needs to hear this news, that is dying to know what it is. We have an injury expert coming in. Come on, come tell him. Come tell him. What's the status of Purdy? Come over here. Injury expert Miley Dodd. Let him know. Let him know. Okay. She's a little shy right now. But let's pull this up and let me see if I can find what exactly is going on. Okay. Yeah, I saw that Kittle's going to be out a couple weeks. We got to figure all this out. This Niners offense is about to collapse. Let me see if I can find the exact report and the exact clip of something around this. Okay, let me just search Brock Purdy on Twitter, see if we got anything. So Shefty, this is the official statement. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy suffered a left shoulder injury and a toe injury in Sunday's win. Coach Kyle Shanahan said the toe is worse than the shoulder and his status will be determined later this week. Let me see if I can find anything else regarding this. Okay. Is there any clip of Kyle Shanahan talking here? So here's the same thing from Shefty. Shefty saying Mac Jones will be in line to start if we have him missing. Let me look at the latest tweets. I would love an actual video explanation of what's going on. But for us to have the two injuries and for us to be getting this information this early on Monday and they're already prepping us that he may miss. Yeah, Chief, I'm going to assume that this is, I'm going to, maybe, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just overreacting for clicks. Maybe that's in the back of my mind and yada, yada, yada. You don't want to listen to this. But let me go through and let's try to figure out where we should be moving Purdy. Realistically, if I had Purdy right now, I would drop him for May. I would drop him for McCarthy. I would drop him for Love. And I probably want to move this tier down here as well, because I think all these quarterbacks are maybe about in the same tier. So Purdy's probably going to fall down about QB 18 for me. Trying to find a way to word this tweet. Rostering McCaffrey CMC puts you under more stress than being the president. Say, the president of the United States doesn't understand the stress that rostering CMC and fantasy football brings. Okay. Because for me, I'm going to be moving McCaffrey down my rankings. I had CMC RB3. I would rather have Derrick Henry. I'd rather have Jahmyr Gibbs over him now. I know CMC is quote unquote going to be the whole offense. CMC was already the whole offense, and now this offense is just worse. Realistically, I would still probably prefer Genty. I'm sorry, I prefer CMC over Genty, Taylor, Bucky, Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs, Achane still. Because realistically, we don't have official word that yes, Purdy is going to miss time. If you told me that Brock Purdy was for sure out a month, McCaffrey would probably fall down to like the RB10 range. But I'm still going to leave McCaffrey at RB5. He was going to be my running back 1 in my week 2 rankings, but we can't put him there anymore. Now, going over and looking at what we have at the receivers. So with Ricky Pearsall, I was previously very aggressive on him in our updated rankings with the injuries to Kittle and the injury to Juwan Jennings. But now we are in a spot that if this offense is no longer an above average unit, what makes Ricky Pearsall different than Jacoby Myers? Like, I'm moving Ricky Pearsall down to wide receiver 39. I'm nuking him. And now apparently we have official word that Kittle is going to be out 3 to 5 weeks. Yeah, the report is George Kittle is going to miss 3 to 5 weeks. Now, for me, I have TJ Hawkinson in the Flock League. Would I trade TJ Hawkinson for George Kittle? Yes, I would. But I'd still, at this point, probably rather have Sam Laporta and Tyler Warren because Kittle's 31 years old. Kittle, at the same time, has had injury problems through the majority of his NFL career. So I could pivot off Kittle, get to Sam Laporta, get to Tyler Warren right now. I probably easily would do that. Especially if we're considering the fact that you have the Brock Purdy injury. And the thing is, if Juwan Jennings is injured, Brock Purdy's injured, George Kittle's injured, what's the incentive for the Niners to go out there and go like, oh yeah, we really got to make sure that we bring back Brock Purdy as fast as possible. We just gave him all the money in the world. He's the future of our franchise. Let's put him at risk with a shoulder and a toe injury. They're probably not doing that. So I think you have to lower expectations dramatically on the Niners offense. Again, for me personally, if Kittle's out 3 to 5 weeks in the Flock League, depending on what happens tonight, I'll update the rankings after the game, of course. We'll be live streaming after the game. Come hang out with us. We'll do the immediate impact. I probably would flip Hawkinson for Kittle and then just start Dallas Goedert over the next few weeks until we get George Kittle back, hopefully in like week 5, week 6. Again, looking at Brock Purdy, I would cut him if you have Caleb, Dak, Herbert. I'm going to put Herbert up here at QB 11. If you had Herbert, Caleb, Dak, Goff, May, McCarthy, Love out there on the waiver wire, I would make that pivot from Purdy easily as of right this second. We'll obviously continue to update as we get official news. And then with the offensive struggles, even if he is everything in the offense, he was already everything in the offense, but now you're just going to have fewer trips to the red zone. I'm going to put CMC behind Barkley, Bijan, Derrick Henry, and Jahmyr Gibbs. But let me publish these on the site, and let me see if we've had any other official injury reports coming out of offenses other than San Fran. Roshan is inactive for the game today. But yeah, I don't have any other injury reports of note. So Mark says latest on London. I will try to find London here. I searched London and it's showing me something that's going on in the actual city. Come on. Algorithm, you should know me better than that. I can't see any injury update with Drake London. Again, what I saw initially was that he is day-to-day. So if London does miss any time, it's probably just this week. But that's what we have right now. We're obviously going to have to monitor the injury report with Drake London. But let me publish this, and let's move over to our next questions. We'll see if we have any Niners questions. Now, Jay Stazzoni, we just answered this for you. So let's move over to our next one. This one is John John. So should we drop Andrews for Kraft, Fannin, Strange, or Henry on the waiver wire? I would drop Mark Andrews for Tucker Kraft. So yes, I would go out there and I would make that pivot. I mean, Andrews, I thought he was going to crush week 1 because the over-under of that game was the highest of any game in the NFL that week. Sportsbooks were telling us it was going to be the shootout. You had no Isaiah Likely. Projections were really high on Mark Andrews. For him to do legitimately nothing. H. Martinez says, or should I offer St. Brown instead of Neighbors? I would, tomato. They're both in garbage offenses. I'd rather have Neighbors than St. Brown. But Neighbors versus Derrick Henry, give me Derrick Henry. Kamara versus Puka, give me Puka. Devonta Smith's not going to bridge the gap. I would trade either Amon-Ra St. Brown or Malik Neighbors to get the Derrick Henry side. I mean, quite easily, to be honest. The Ghost with a trade. This is Travis Etienne versus Kenneth Walker. I have Etienne in the Flock League. Obviously, Etienne moved up my rankings in a dramatic way after week 1. And Kenneth Walker now looking like he's in a 50-50 split with Zach Charbonnet scares me. But based off the large sample that we have over the past 2 years, if I got offered Kenneth Walker today for Travis Etienne, I think I would accept it. I would probably counter with like, hey, can I get some extra fab dollars or something just so I feel better about the deal? But spam the chat right now. Who would you rather have rest of season? Would you rather have Travis Etienne or Kenneth Walker? Please let me know in the chat. Are you going to go Travis Etienne or Kenneth Walker? Okay, we got Walker, Travis, 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 Walker, Travis, Walker, Travis, Walker, Travis. It looks like it's kind of split 50-50, but I have Walker RB 22, and I have Travis Etienne RB 24. Let's move this over. Wraiths, this is James Conner, George Pickens versus Quinshon Judkins and Lad McConkey. I would rather have the Lad side here. I think he's the best player in the deal. I understand that here you get 2 additional starters. We don't know if we can start Judkins just yet. But honestly, I think that you are going to look back a month from now and see like, I can't believe I got Lad at that price. I really hope Quentin Johnson continues to do what he does. I'll be a very rich man from Underdog Best Ball Drafts, but probably not going to happen. Steve Sterner trading Achane for Chase Brown. For me personally, I am more excited about the potential bounce back for the Bengals offense than I am with the Miami offense. And I'm going to go with Chase Brown, with who he saw every single carry in Cincinnati week 1. J-Mac trading Pollard, JSN, Harrison for DeAndre Swift and Jamar Chase. I'd rather have Pollard over Swift, but JSN, Amar versus Jamar Chase in a 10-team league with only 2 wide receivers and 1 flex spot. If you can ever put yourself in a position where you have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase on the same team, it's probably a good idea to do that. So we're going to take the Jamar Chase side. Now, Damien with our next one. We're trading Michael Pittman for Tet. This is Tet by, a country mile. I say it all the time. I know y'all hate it, but not even really close. You go Tet. Calv Brea says, starts at advice, any trade recommendations? I would leave this as is. And if you could upgrade to get a better quarterback by trading away a running back piece, we would. Like, you go James Cook and Kyler to get to a top 2 quarterback. Let's go for it. Ant Fry, this is Josh Allen, Garrett Wilson versus Daniels, Diggs, Warren. 10-team league. You know, I recently traded Daniels and some pieces to upgrade to Josh Allen. I still think that Allen's in a different tier than Jaden Daniels. Garrett Wilson's in a different tier than Like, I would rather have Josh Allen over Daniels. I'd rather have Garrett Wilson over Tyler Warren. And I don't think Stephon Diggs bridges the gap. So I'm going to go with the Josh Allen side. Now, Bowery says, as a Kittle owner, do I grab Hunter Henry or Harold Fannin? I would go with Hunter Henry personally. JDOS, this is Kyler versus Fields inside the starting lineup. Right now, the Cardinals project to be a top 5 scoring offense in the league this week. So I'm going to go with Kyler. And then for the flex, I would have maybe told you to go Ricky Pearsall. But now if we have the Purdy injury, I think starting Pearsall and CMC with Mac Jones as the as the QB here would be a little bit risky. So I'd probably go with Travis Etienne instead. But we'll see what Rome ends up doing. Now, Johnu, this is A.J. Brown versus Amari Hampton and Rashee Rice. It's a 10-team, 2-wide. Actually, I can't even guarantee what the league settings are here. For me, I would go with Hampton and Rashee Rice personally. I think once Rice comes back, you can make an argument that you rank him over A.J. Brown. Trey, this is JCM versus Justin Fields. I have them ranked at 96 and 100 in my rankings. Afterwards, at running back, you'd have Chuba and Jonathan Taylor, and it's a 14-team format. So realistically, the options at quarterback off waivers should be worse in most 14-team leagues. But right now, you have Caleb Williams on the waiver wire. So if Caleb Williams is on the waiver wire, I would just pick him up for free and drop Kyle Monangai. And I'd keep Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, who's going to be very difficult to find running back production in a 14-team format. Now, Nicola trading A.J. Brown for Mike Evans. I would still rather have A.J. Brown here. I know the passing volume was nowhere to be seen in Philadelphia week 1, but there will be some games that they have to play closer and throw the ball. Dexter trading Ibuka for Amari and Hampton. For me, I'd very easily rather have Amari and Hampton rest of season. Najee Harris had 1 touch in week 1, and I do think you eventually get Godwin back in the offense. Schmitty trading Breece, Devontae Adams for Amari and Hampton, DJ Moore. I'd rather have Hampton over Breece still. Adams, DJ Moore. This is a fair 2-for-2 swap. I'm not going to mark either side as a winner. I do think that it's going to come down to personal preference. Now, my personal preference would probably be Amari and Hampton and DJ Moore, depending on what we see with DJ Moore tonight's game. But at the same time, I know a lot of people in the chat will think that I'm very stupid for saying that. And if you wanted to go with the Breece Hall and Devontae Adams side here, I'm not going to fault you whatsoever. Okay. Now let's move this over. Big Dog Enterprises trading Baker and Drake London for Josh Allen. I have London and Allen ranked back-to-back at 17, 18. If you get Baker Mayfield for free, let's see what our wide receiver room is. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league where we have Lamb, Higgins, Sutton, DJ Moore. Actually, it's a league where we can start 4 wide receivers weekly. But it's a 10-team format. Who can we pick up off the waiver wire? Khalil Shakir and Loveland. So would I rather have Baker and London or Allen and Shakir? I'd probably rather have Allen and Shakir, to be honest with you. Now, Tyrone trading Malik Neighbors for Bucky Irving and Zay Flowers. It's a 14-team format. So a 14-team league where right now we have H.A. and Tracy as our top 2 running backs and like Bigsby as our RB3. You for sure make this move in a 14-teamer. Like, I definitely want to pick up the extra starter there. But it looks like we're about to hit 1,000 likes on this live stream. So we're going to give away a ton of free questions to everybody hanging out with us in this stream, as we always do. All I ask is if you want to enter for the free questions giveaway, make sure you drop a like on this live stream, subscribe to the channel. We are on our way to 300,000 subscribers, which I never thought in a million years could be possible for any fantasy football channel that I was a part of. And then also, if you wanted to come out to the live streams, which we are doing every single day, we're going to do them every day until Christmas. Y'all know I'm the guy that never misses a day of streaming. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button. And drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat, and we'll go ahead and we'll pick out a bunch of y'all to give some free questions to. OxG says, need help with the flex and wide receivers. Worried about London. London, I think, ends up playing. Let's answer this as if London does not play. If London does not play, Calvin Ridley will be a much better start this week than he was last week. We'll probably go Travis Hunter, depending on what the usage reports are, and then Amari and Hampton in the flex. But you could also actually, we're probably going to go Travis Hunter, George Pickens going to be tough. Pickens much better matchup this week as well, similar to Calvin Ridley. I think you're going to have to monitor what we get with the Travis Hunter reports, like where they told us before the game, hey, he's going to mainly be used as a receiver, but they said that's not going to be the case every single time. So you'll have to stay on top of that. And of course, we'll get you our wide receiver rankings on the site as time goes on. And then it's just too early to know this. We don't know what the use is going to be with Hunter. And at the same time, we haven't seen Rome Odunze play tonight. All right, we're going to get sent over a bunch of free start sit questions. I would recommend not asking start sit questions on a Monday stream. I would recommend waiting until at the very least tomorrow, because tomorrow I'll have a much better idea with the matchups. Now we're going to get this from Alex from Florida. Alex, I cannot find you. I can only find you on flockfantasy.com if you use code FLOCK when you signed up. Let's go Mark 2319. Just found you, and I just sent you over a free start sit question, my friend. And let's just keep on giving out free questions in this stream. I appreciate y'all hanging out here with us. Let's go Fantasy Genius. Turn Theory is always in the chat with us, and I was rude to him earlier, so I feel like I owe him. Let's go through and let's send you over something. You just got a free start sit question in your account now, my friend. Let's go MK Dude. We'll send you over a free question to... Just sent that over your way. Let's send over Saquon88 a free question. And this is not being cooperative with me. God, took a risk to say that word. Y'all know that? Typically, I only stick to about 10 words that are in my vocabulary, but we went out of our boundary for that one. I can't find you on the site, my friend. I don't know if you use code FLOCK. Let's go Pesky Parrot. Pesky Parrot, I just found you, and we just sent you over that free start set. Again, I'd recommend not using the start set in this live stream. I'd probably recommend saving it for later in the week. But it'll be in your account, so you'll be good to go. And let me move this over. And I want to remind y'all again, I'm going to be sending out a ton of free questions in every single live stream that we do. Just what you need to do to be qualified for them is when you're in the stream, be subscribed, hit the like button, and have an account on flockfantasy.com with code FLOCK. It can even be a free account as well. And you get a bunch with free accounts too. Wild Goose Chase. This is London versus a first, second, Kamara, and Devonta Smith. This is a dynasty league. Dynasty League, Kamara is almost nothing 12 months from now. Checking out the squad here, we have Chase, we have Jefferson. Running back, we have Pollard and nothing. So if you wanted to contend, I understand making this trade. But it is kind of like a funny trade. It's like, oh, to contend, we're going to go out there, we're going to sell London and get back a couple first as well. Gavin, I will do more of the team reviews. I just got to get through the start set. I got to get through the quick questions first, just because the team review can wait until after the game tonight. Obviously, I'd prefer it not to. But if somebody sends a trade that needs to be answered before the game tonight, I got to get to it. Now, Toto trading Chuba Hubbard for Igbuka. I have them ranked in the similar range. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I think most of the time you should have viable wide receiver production. This is the one case in which, like, your wide receiver room's not great. So I understand if you want to make this deal. I'm probably going to go Chuba, though, because I do think that Igbuka will slide just a bit when you eventually get Godwin back in. Now, CPAS says, I also have an offer of JT for Cook straight up. You can get Jonathan Taylor by selling James Cook. Go get Jonathan Taylor right this second. I'd make this trade too, but if you could sell James Cook for Jonathan Taylor, that's the one you do. Now, Dalacia, this is Josh Allen, Marvin Harrison versus Lamar and Chase Brown. I have Josh Allen ahead of Lamar, but I think Chase Brown's in a different tier than Marv. So I'm going to go with the Lamar and Chase Brown side of this, kind of regardless of your team as well. And Justin says, Yo, Mason, that Josh Allen trade you made worked out perfectly after week 1. Yeah, I don't want to run victory laps yet. It's way too early, but it's looking like that trade I made with Danny before week 1 of the Flock League. I will say that if I did not make that trade, I would have lost week 1. Now, maybe that trade loses me future weeks, but I won week 1 with that trade, getting Josh Allen and Travis Etienne. Now, Aiden trading Amon-Ra for Chase Brown and Zay Flowers. This is a dynasty format. I'm sticking with Amon-Ra St. Brown here. But redraft league, I'd way rather have the Chase Brown side. Now, Toto, here for the flex, DK Metcalf would be the player in consideration. And now that you have Brock Purdy banged up, I'm probably going to be playing DK Metcalf over Ricky Pearsall this week. But again, we are for sure going to need to monitor what's going on with Brock Purdy and the overall Niners offense. Now, Gavin, always happy to see you. No, we just talked to you earlier. Or maybe different Gavin. But JCM over Pacheco, or is that an overreaction? Thanks, Mason. It's going to be very difficult because both players have brutal matchups. JCM, you are going up against a very, very good Packers defense that just really limited the Detroit Lions. And then Isaiah Pacheco, you're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, or maybe they'll have their best defensive lineman if he decides not to spit in the face of Patrick Mahomes. So, not the easiest spot for us to tell you which direction to go in. I think we're probably going to, I'm probably going to say JCM today because we have the Austin Eckler injury we got to monitor. But again, we are going to have to monitor that Eckler injury. But if Eckler were to miss, JCM is an automatic jam. It doesn't matter how bad the matchup is. I would be so pumped with JCM in the Flock League. Now, Warp Frog, this is Jahmyr Gibbs, Cortland Sutton, Amari Hampton, and Puka Nacua. Gibbs to Puka, I have Puka slightly higher, but they are essentially back-to-back. Sutton versus Amari Hampton, I'd clearly rather have Hampton, so I think this is a great deal, and I would make this trade. Now, HP Stev trading Judkins and David Njoku for Tyler Warren. David Njoku may be dust. David Njoku may be nothing at this point. So I would go ahead and realistically, I'm going to take Tyler Warren. Like if Harold Fannin, I don't think he's the tight end one in Cleveland, but if he's not going away, this offense isn't good enough to support multiple tight ends. Now, Brax coming through with our next one. Here we have Tet on the bench. For me, I would rather have Tet in the long term over Egbuka because in the long term, you're still going to get Godwin and Jalen McMillan back. In the short term, before you get Godwin back in this offense, I wouldn't fault you whatsoever to continue to just jam in Egbuka. Now, Fantasy Genius trading RGRV, Mike Evans for Trevion and Egbuka. Here, I would tough. I'd still rather have Evans over Egbuka. I know Egbuka scores all the points week one, but Evans leads the team in targets, and we have a long track record. I'd rather have Trevion over RJ Harvey still, even with both backs kind of playing second fiddle in their respective backfields. I'm probably going to be going with Egbuka and Trevion, but I could be giving you a different answer literally 30 minutes from now, to be honest. So that is going to be up to you. And I know that is turn theory in the chat, so it's going to be up to you there, my guy. Max Ammo trading Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy. Worthy may be a 0. We don't know. For DeAndre Swift, Quinshon Judkins, Travis Etienne, Egbuka, and Jordan Addison. One thing that's very relevant with this trade, right? Let me go through and pull up the trade calculator. And let's put this in. There's a lot of people will just view this as like, oh, what's the raw value side? And they won't think of the implications of making a trade like this. But let's put this in as if it's just the raw value trade where it's Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy versus Swift, Judkins, Travis, Egbuka, and Addison. So here's this in the trade calc. I'm going to change this over to my value specifically. And you submit this, and it's going to say you are robbing them. It is going to have this side with much more value. But what you need to take into consideration is you have to drop 3 players. So we got to figure out who are the 3 names that we are dropping. I guess you have Ollie Gooden, Woody Marks, and Austin Eckler. So never mind. Your leagues... And I actually don't even want to look at the names that we're dropping. What I would rather do is I would rather look at the names that we're dropping and the best players on the waiver wire because it's going to be stopping us from picking them up because we're going to drop some of these guys regardless to pick up waiver wire names, right? So let's go and let's see what's on the waiver wire. It's Jaden Reed and Quentin Johnston would probably be your ads. So Reed and Quentin Johnston. And 1 second, I will be back. Let me go open the door, and I will give some free questions after we get back. But let's submit this now that we added the other spots, and it goes back, and it's much more fair once we view it this way. Okay, I am sorry about that. But I think this type of deal is really going to come down to what your perspective is on Brian Thomas. Do you think this is a 1 week issue? And do you think that Brian Thomas is going to be fine in the long term? So for me, the raw value, even in consideration of the roster spots that you're going to be losing, will probably be with the 5 players. But that's also because I have moved Brian Thomas down dramatically in my rankings after week 1. If you think that Brian Thomas should be valued about where you drafted him, then it would be the Brian Thomas side. Now, wicked dependency with our next question. You're going to have to stream the quarterback position, my friend. Wide receiver, I'm going to go J-Mo over Ricky Pearsall with Purdy banged up. Tight end, I'll still probably go Andrews over Strange if you have no likely, but it is very close. And then for the flex, Tony Pollard is going to be an auto start this week. Garrett with a trading Travis Etienne, Drake London for Barkley. I have Etienne, Barkley, and I drafted London. Feel like we are well represented with this question, but same time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Saquon. Jingo says, why are you panicking over 1 bad week from Lawrence? It would be like, okay, so here's the difference between Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, and how I'm viewing the gap between these options. And like why I may be panicking with Lawrence in a way that I'm not with Burrow. Or don't get me wrong, I'm not like 100% cool with Burrow and just going like, oh, the Bengals offense is going to be elite, don't worry, blah, blah, blah. No, like there are some concerns. But why I'm very much concerned with Trevor Lawrence is let's look at Lawrence's career. Let's look at what he has done through 4 seasons. Because Lawrence has not been the best. We're pulling this up with a player comparison on flockfantasy.com. We're just going every year. And the most, in my opinion, the best statistic at evaluating quarterback play and how this is going to translate over to fantasy football for the receivers in their in their offenses, will be adjusted yards per pass attempt. Adjusted yards per pass attempt wise, Trevor Lawrence was 47th in the NFL his rookie season. The worst rookie quarterback that we have seen in God knows how long. And let's look at the totals here. Lawrence had a total of 14 touchdowns to 17 interceptions. Lawrence in year 2, massive leap forward. Adjusted yards per pass attempt goes up to 7.3, and it looks like Lawrence has figured it out, and it's only Urban Meyer's fault. Then he gets worse in year 3, falling to 6.9 adjusted yards per pass attempt, which was 24th in the league. Lawrence was a very bad quarterback in 2023. And then this past season, Lawrence was 30th in the NFL with his adjusted yards per pass attempt. He had 14 total touchdowns. And obviously, he missed time. But to see this inefficient play, and then to see him come out and missing clear balls week 1, like it's not like we've had 1 bad week from Lawrence. We've had 1 bad week with Lawrence with years on top of it. So Yeah, that's like very clearly something I think we should be worried about. Now, Mark DJ with our next question. This is RGRV receiver ice versus CMC. I'm going to go CMC. Doesn't matter. Purdy's injured. Give me McCaffrey here. Now, C-Man, always happy to see us. The same ace. This is my first year doing Underdog Best Ball, and I'm not really sure how to check how I'm doing. Okay, let me go through and just walk you through this. Completely understand, like, Underdog definitely should make this a little bit easier for people to find, at least in my opinion. But if you drafted Underdog teams, open up the Underdog app. Of course, they're going to take you to pick them initially. Then if you hit the track button at the very bottom, it will take you over to the pick'em slip if you have one open, but there will be another tab here that says drafts. And if you hit drafts, it first shows daily drafts, which if you have no daily drafts, in my opinion, it should just show best ball, but it shows daily. And you hit daily and then you move over to best ball. And then once you move over to best ball, you can go ahead and you can see your teams there. You can track them. You can see how they're scoring. So hopefully that makes some sense, my friend. And again, really appreciate you hanging out with us on the stream. Let me send you some more free questions. I know we sent you some already with the roster review, but and also I will say this too. If you have any or anybody here has any like Underdog related questions, the same thing generally as like asking questions about flockfantasy.com. I can't really do too much customer support in these live streams, but Underdog and C-Man, yeah, I hope I was able to help you out. Hopefully that was worked for you. But Underdog has great customer support. You can reach out to them so many different ways. Email them, shoot them a message on Discord, shoot them a message on Twitter. They're for sure going to help you out. Flockfantasy.com has less customer support, but it's with the developers, and you can open up a ticket with the site issues section in the Discord, and the devs would be happy to help you out there. But generally, I can't be doing much customer support on either, especially I can't be doing customer support for Underdog, which I have no control over anything on Underdog, right? Like the way that I do on our site. Now, B. Garner with our next start set. We have Keon Coleman in the flex right now. I don't think Keon Coleman is an auto jam, realistically. I think if you were looking at starting somebody here outside of Keon Coleman, maybe it'd be Trevion, but probably leaving this as is. Yeah, and then if Eckler misses, JCM's going to be an auto jam. Like you put Ja'Cory Cross-Camara in your lineup if we have no Eckler. Now, Marcus, you cannot change your promo code. Like on any website, you sign up for a website, right? You can't change the promo code you signed up with. Cameron says, or switch Rome for Olave. Kraft is our current tight end. So Kittle, you can see we moved him down our rankings dramatically, but realistically, hell, Kittle versus Rome Odunze for me rest of season. If we have no Kittle for like 3 to 4 weeks or 3 to 5 weeks, once Kittle comes back, I'd way rather have Kittle. We have them ranked in a similar range. I would for sure rather have Jonathan Taylor. It's a 10-team league where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. So even with Kittle being out 3 to 5 weeks, your league, the wide receiver depth's not going to matter that much. So I probably would go with the Jonathan Taylor side of this. Okay. Noof, this is Bijan versus Brian Thomas and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to go Bijan. Maybe this could be the opportunity of a lifetime for you to go through and for you to buy the 2 players that went at the end of the first round and the beginning of the second round after down week 1 performances. Maybe I am overreacting with this, but I do not know here. Can y'all please spam the chat? What side would y'all rather have? Would y'all rather have Bijan Robinson or Brian Thomas and Amon-Ra St. Brown? Am I overreacting to think that we need to take Bijan? Let's see what we got. Bijan, BTJ, Bijan, Bijan, wide receivers, Bijan, wide receivers. Depends on the team, Bijan, depends on the team, wide receivers, Bijan. Receivers, Bijan, receivers, Bijan, receivers, Bijan. Depends, Bijan. So it's a 10-team format. Afterwards, our running back room right now is Genty, RJ Harvey, and Quinshon Judkins. You can't make this trade. You have to have Bijan Robinson. If that's your running back room, we can't rely on like RJ Harvey as our running back 2 in the short term. So for me, I would hold on to Bijan Robinson in a 10-team league here. Also, if you were to do this, the player that you would have to drop, you probably got to drop Josh Downs. But it is up to you. There are a lot of people in the chat that want the receivers. Now, Vice City, this is a 3-team trade. I'd get Connor and Benson with JMO. So you give up Pacheco. So DJ Moore to JMO. Probably DJ Moore, but not that far off. James Conner and Trey Benson versus Isaiah Pacheco. It's the Arizona backs by a mile. So I'm going to go the JMO side here for sure. And Vice City, yes, sir. That was I saw your comment there. If you ever put like a comment in the comment box whenever you submit a question, I should be able to see it. The only instance I can is if you just use like the messaging platform afterwards. But if you put in a comment like as you send it, then you should be good. Okay. Now, Mason 012, this is us trading CMC for Kyron and Igbuka. It's a 12-team, 2-wide. Actually, I can't even guarantee the league settings. It's not linked. I would rather have McCaffrey here. Obviously, we are taking on risk both with his potential injury plus with the injury to Purdy, the injury to Kittle, where in my opinion, I actually think Kittle, outside of Purdy, is the most important player in this offense. So I think Kittle being out, obviously you'll just get a ton of target volume for CMC. But at the same time, I would be maybe a little bit concerned about what we have with like the trips to the red zone. But regardless, I don't think that Kyron and Ibuka equals CMC at this point. Paul says, Mason, how do I filter the My Teams page down to only your rankings? To do that, like to see my exact rankings on the site, you do need a membership. I don't know if you have one. It's free to view everything with the expert rankings on the site, but if you wanted to view with mine, you hit the creator drop down and then you hit Mason Dodd. My name's Mason. And then it will go through and it'll sort these players and these rankings based off your exact rankings here. And it looks like Nathan, the young bug, you will see this in the Flock League video, but Nathan's on a heater. He's steaming. Now, Confirmed Picker says, who would you pick up for Kittle? If we're looking at the tight end options right now on the waiver wire in the majority of leagues, I would say that we're probably looking at Hunter Henry and Juwan Johnson as some of the best plays. Okay. Now, Glazy with our next question. This is Josh Allen, A.J. Brown, Chris Godwin versus Jaden Daniels, JCM, Stephon Diggs, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. For me, absolutely love JSN. I think I would probably rather have Allen over him. A.J. Brown versus Jaden Daniels, I may rather have A.J. Brown. Godwin versus Diggs, I'd rather have Godwin. And I don't know if Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt bridges the gap. So there is for sure a real chance that I am just glazing Josh Allen too much because Josh Allen won me my week 1 matchup and I wanted to win that more than anything on this planet. So that is a possibility, but I'm going to be going with the Josh Allen side here. Now, Chris Gio, this is CMC versus Kamara and Igbuka. I think we answered this from somebody else, no? So I think I'm going to go with the McCaffrey side. Again, we are taking on a decent amount of risk, but like if Purdy were to miss, it makes like CMC go from being my RB1 to like my RB5 in the rankings this week. He's still going to be an elite option. He's still well ahead of, like, the Niners will still be better than the Saints, even with no Purdy and no Kittle and no Jawan Jennings. Okay. Caleb versus Tucker Kraft, entirely dependent on your team. If we have Kyler and Love at quarterback and it's a one quarterback format, we just lost Kittle. Yeah, I for sure trade Caleb for Kraft. Now, Phil, this is Travis Etienne versus Travis Hunter. This is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, so the wide receiver depth doesn't matter as much, but we have Juwan Jennings injured. We have Brandon Ayuk injured. We have Drake London day to day. So, yeah, I'm going to go get Travis Hunter here. Like, I have Travis Etienne in the flock league. I'll trade him for Hunter right now. Now, Chef Rice is worried about Bowers and London. Running back room is still bad. Running back, yeah, you probably end up having to play Chubb this week. Or Dylan Sampson for sure in a PPR format if you have no Judkins, but I think Judkins plays. And then I think Bauer should be good to go. He is listed as day-to-day for now. Okay. Now, Santamoli, this is Dylan Sampson, Judkins, Drake London, Mike Evans versus Genty and T. Higgins. Evans versus Higgins, give me Evans, but it's close. London versus Genty, give me Genty, but it's close. Dobbins, Dylan Sampson on one side of this. I can't see the exact. I think this is a fair trade. I think it's going to be up to you. Selfishly, I really hope it ends up being the T. Higgins side that wins this, but I can't say that for certainty. Okay. No Instagram. This name's familiar. I think you've been with us for a while. Selling Brian Thomas and Pollard for CMC. Give me CMC easily. Like I said, before the Purdy injury, CMC was going to be my running back 1 in my rankings this week. Not rest of season, but for week 2 specifically. Now he falls down to being a mid RB1, but like the Jags offense doesn't look exciting. I can't say like, hey, you got to make sure you do anything you can. Here, real quick, I got to send something. Do anything you can to pivot from the Niners now that you have no Purdy over to the Jags. Like, realistically, I don't know how different that's going to be. Let me see if we have the updated implied team totals for week 2 post the Purdy injury news. Like, how bad are sportsbooks projecting out the Niners to be? This may not be updated. Yeah, this is definitely not updated. You have an implied team total of 25 points. They're going up against the Saints, so they're probably going to be favored in that game regardless. Now, mindless allocation. This is Chuba versus Sutton and a couple bums. 14-team format, so honestly, in a 14-team league, these bums may actually be valuable and these bums may turn into something. As realistically, if you're in a 10-team format, like I can't tell you that we know for sure that Jonnu Smith's hitting your lineup ever. Like Cam Scadden is hitting your lineup ever, even worth a roster spot. But 14-team league, they for sure will be. Ironclad trading James Conner and Zay Flowers for Josh Jacobs and a 10-team 2 wide receiver 1 flex. This is the perfect trade to make in this format, where we sell the wide receiver depth piece in a league in which wide receiver doesn't matter that much, and we go and get somebody like Jacobs. Zay Flowers is going to project out much worse in future weeks than he did this past one. He was very exciting going up against the Bills because the total in that game was so high. Seth, if you're having any issue accessing your account, please send in the side issue section of the Discord. Now, no Instagram says, hey, Mason, wanted to get your opinions on the squad. I think here we're probably going to continue to just play the matchups between these guys weekly. Probably love this next week. And then for the flex, you're probably going to go with Calvin Ridley, but I like having the wide receiver depth with our league settings here. And then obviously, if we were to need to pick up a waiver wire play to play instead of Brock Bowers, I think our cut would be Tyler Algier. Now let's move this over. Hoscat trading Kyler and Evans for Josh Allen. I'm going to go Josh Allen. So Noah says Niners Saints over under is 40.5. What are your thoughts, Mason? Where are you seeing that? What's the updated over under? What's the updated spread of the game? It's the provider I'm looking at right now still has it at 45.5, so they haven't dropped it. Um, let's see. Can I find these? God, the Lions website used to be so good, and now it's like almost unusable for whatever reason. I don't know why it's so bad. Noah says FanDuel minus 4.5. So you're telling me the over-under of that game is 40.5 points and the spread's 4.5. Niners are favored. So let me do some quick little math here. So you're telling me that we got an implied team total of like 22 points for the Niners, which before the Purdy news, the implied team total for the Niners was 25. So they're essentially dropping the Niners by like 3 points in projection. So CMC, instead of being my running back 1, is probably like my running back 5. But Brady says, Mason, what's needed for the free start sit trade questions? We'll give away some free ones right now. Just go ahead and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. And if you wanted to be eligible for those free questions, go through and drop a like on this stream, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell next to the subscribe button. Okay. And we will pull this up, and I will be able to pick y'all some free ones. Okay, we got Sutsky, Asian Artifacts, longtime member of the flock here. Happy to see you. That is random. If y'all don't know, Asian Artifacts has been with us forever. Okay, let me see if I can find you on the list real quick. Super happy to see you out in the stream. I don't know the last time I've seen you. I can't find you on the site. I can only find you if you use code FLOCK on your account. So do you mind adding that to me to your account on the account page? Sky274. Okay, let me send you over some free questions. Just found you on the site. We'll send you over a free start sit. Let's find some more ones. Your friendly neighbor. Your friendly neighbor. Just found you. Just sent you over a free start sit. Again, I would personally recommend that you don't use these start sit questions today. I'd recommend you save them. Let me send this over to, I think I pulled my Metcalf. Just sent you over a free question. And like I said, to be entered in to win a free question, all you got to do is hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you want to come out to these live streams. And then Arrow G, sending this out to you right now. Okay, just sending you one over as well. Perfect. So y'all should all have those free start sets. But let's move this over to our next one. Heifer. This is Kenneth Walker, RJ Harvey, AJ Brown versus Trevion Henderson and Ladd McConkey. AJ Brown to Ladd McConkey. I have them ranked 29, 28 overall. Kind of a lateral move. RJ Harvey to Trevion Henderson. Big time upgrade. We're paying Kenneth Walker to get the deal done. Leftover at running back, we'd have Achane, Trevion, and that is about it. So honestly, I don't know if the depth here is going to allow you to do so in a start 8 format. So I would probably rather have the Kenneth Walker, RJ Harvey, and AJ Brown side. Milan, yes, I'm sorry that the team reviews are turned off right now. We had them on for about 10 minutes early in the live stream, but we had like 10 to 15 sent in immediately. So we had to turn them off again. So I didn't fall too far behind. I will hopefully be able to get back to the team reviews in just 1 second here. And we will hopefully be able to turn them back on the site soon. Asian Artifacts, I just got you set up. I sent you over a bunch of free vouchers, both start, sit, and trade. So appreciate you sticking with me for so long. Happy to see you. Now, Beto, we are going to be going with Rome over Pearsall if Purdy doesn't play, but obviously depending on what happens with Rome tonight. And then for the 2 flex spots, I'm going to be going with like Trevion and Sticky Ricky. But yeah, a lot hinges on what happens through the week with the injury reports. Now, Nathan for the flex, we have no Addison, we have no Jennings, we have no Worthy, so it's Harvey or Braylon Allen, and I go RG Harvey over Braylon Allen. Shane, this is Drake London versus Charbonnet and Amari Hampton. So the Charbonnet case is interesting, right? Because obviously Charbonnet with a much bigger role than we were initially expecting. If we were looking at getting Charbonnet into our starting lineup, however, it's not the easiest call. Because, like, if the Seattle, like, Charbonnet's expanded role, there's a world in which it just makes it where neither Charbonnet or Kenneth Walker are startable in fantasy. I see you're saying you're starting Kenneth Walker already. But, like, again, like, if they both split this backfield 50-50 in a bad offense, it just goes from, like, hey, you were excited to start Kenneth Walker, and Charbonnet was just the premium elite handcuff. Where now they're almost both just premium elite handcuffs, where you can really only start either one if you get an injury to the other one in the backfield. Now, I'm not saying that's 100% going to be the fact right now. I'd still say that we got to give Kenneth Walker the benefit of the doubt based on what we have with the large sample. So I'm going to stick with the London side of this. Like, Charbonnet looks better in best ball where you're going to get some random usable weeks. But the fact of the matter is, in your regular redraft format, like, good luck trying to ever start him. Okay. Now let's move this back over to the team reviews. I'm going to skip by the dynasty one. The redraft ones, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 redraft team reviews. So I'm going to get through as many of these as I can. And maybe we'll turn back on the reviews in about 20 minutes, which will only probably get by 3. G Money says, I'm down horrendously at running back work league. Happy PR start 8, and it's hard to get trades done. Teams most willing to trade are Nanner Time, the Hunter Games, McAfee, and X. Gonna give Gibbs to you. Need to make some fixes to the team, but unsure what. So we are currently 4th in the league analyzer. The skill positional depth is going to matter a hell of a lot more in a start 8, 12 team format. So we can't just like abuse the league settings by saying like, oh yeah, let's just go overpay for Lamar. Let's go overpay for Josh Allen. So looking at this, we have Lamar Jackson as the elite level QB, which obviously we are excited for, especially in a happy BR format. Quarterbacks will make up a higher percentage of our starting lineup output, but the depth is very much needed here regardless. Tyler Warren at tight end is probably going to be a name that we can start every single week, regardless of what the matchup is. He is now officially moved up to my tight end 4 after week 1. So really everything that we are going to focus in on is going to be surrounding the running back position and the wide receiver position. And you are going to have an extremely difficult time early in the season and an extremely difficult time to make any trades. And the reason for this is you have no Rashee Rice, you have no Jordan Addison, and you have no Brandon Ayuk at the beginning of the year. So realistically, if we are putting out a starting lineup week 2, you're starting Pollard, Kenneth Walker, Jefferson, Brian Thomas, and then we got a Charbonnet maybe? Marvin, you're not throwing Marvin. Like, the depth here at the skill positions matters a ton, and because all our guys are injured and on the IR, you are put in a really sucky spot. So when I'm looking at the bench down here at the bottom, I'm not thinking about long-term upside. So when we go over and we skim through the waiver wire, it's like, oh, Tajay Spears is the best running back available. Ignore that. You can't pick up another player like Tajay Spears. You can't pick up somebody where we're like, oh yeah, when he comes back in week 5, he can be good. No, you need somebody to start today. So what I would look to do is, honestly, I would drop Adam Thielen depending on what he does in the game tonight. If Adam Thielen looks like there's no way I'm starting him in week 2, you would drop him for Hollywood Brown. If that's not going to be the case, if Adam Thielen looks viable, then we'll drop Marvin Mims instead. But the reality of the situation is, I think you drop both Marvin Mims and Adam Thielen, and you actually go aggressively on the waiver wire for Hollywood Brown and Quentin Johnston. Gavin, can you please let me know in the live chat right now, are you playing with like rolling waivers, or are you playing with fab? Like, are you doing fab bidding for your waiver wire? Because if so, I think that you're the one team that may need to be aggressive to go pick these guys up. Let's see. Gav says no fab, all priority. I'm number 5 on rolling. Okay. That's going to put us in a really awkward spot. Because if we're number 5 on rolling, there is no guarantee at all that we get either Hollywood Brown or Quentin Johnston. And the fact of the matter is, in a league like yours where the depth matters here, hey, we kind of need them. So I hate to say this, but like if we look at all the long-term options on our team, Rashee Rice, Jordan Addison, Brandon Ayuk, Caleb Johnson, 4 players that are going to be nothing in the short term, but just backload our production. What we probably need to do is we probably need to sell one of the suspended guys. Like, let me go ahead and pull up the rankings real quick and see like what range of player we would be willing to sell Rashee Rice for. What range of player I'd be willing to sell Jordan Addison for. Like, you need to just pivot over some of these wide receivers into guys that maybe are worse in the long term, but will play right now. So here's the tier that I would go through. And I know that the vast majority of these trades are going to get rejected. I'm not sitting here pretend like this is going to be easy to get done. Obviously, put an asterisk when I say DJ Moore, because we have not seen DJ Moore play this week. We'll see tonight. But I would trade Rashee Rice for any of Tet, Adams, Igbuka, Tyreek, Terry, Hunter, Metcalf, or DJ Moore. If you could pivot Rice to anybody in this tier, I would. Jordan Addison, I would pivot to any of the wide receivers ahead of him here that are actually playing right now. I would go with Flowers, Smith, Pickens, Jamo, Ridley, Debo, Rome, Olave over Jordan Addison. So I think it's kind of a simple move that you have to make, but I know you're not going to be able to sell Caleb Johnson for anything. You're not going to be able to sell Brandon Ayuk for anything. You're going to have to sell one of Rice or Addison for one of those wide receivers. We're sending out mass offers. We're hoping we get somebody to bite. And that can keep us alive in the short term and give us a shot at winning in the future when we actually get some of these players back. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way, my friend. And Sting says he won a domain league last night because of Josh Allen kneeling. That is hilarious. I did think, like, if I end up somehow losing the matchup to Sal tonight and I do the math and it's because of Josh Allen's kneels at the end of the game, I will lose my mind. Now, Jay's coming through with our next one. This is, hey, was loving my team, but the Worthy injury cost me week 1 where I lost by less than 1 point. I'm nervous about any of my bench players as a flex in the future. Are there any changes or trades you can cook up for me that would keep me confident in the team? Real quick, let me answer this. Gavin says, would you do Lamar, Brian Thomas Jr., and Rice for Jamar, Ladd, and Herbert? Yes, I would 100% do that to get the production right now. 100% on your team. Now let's pull this up for Ba, who had that brutal loss week 1. And this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So that's going to give us a lot of safety. Again, if there was a second flex in your league where the wide receiver depth would matter more, here I would be very, very concerned. But You're not really in that situation right now. Like, you submit a starting line at week 2. We have Bo Nix at quarterback, Jacobs, Hampton at running back, Lamb, Sutton at wide receiver, and then we're throwing Tracy in the flex, and we have Tyler Warren at tight end. Completely fine team. Looking at waiver wire pivots, I'm assuming that we're going to get an open roster spot if we can move Xavier Worthy down to the IR. And if we can, I would like to pick up Quentin Johnston. I'm sorry, I know I'm kind of sitting here quiet. Usually I ramble on a bunch of different things, but we're still the number 2 team in the league analyzer. All that happened is we lost a depth wide receiver for us in a league where depth doesn't matter much. Again, obviously, this would be a much better team if it was one in which we had Xavier Worthy. And if we had Xavier Worthy, what I honestly would probably be trying to do is I'd probably be trying to like sell Sutton and a 2-for-1 deal with Bo Nix to try to get to a top 4 QB. But because we don't have Worthy, we don't have that flexibility to sell a wide receiver. So the fact of the matter is, I think you're probably just kind of going to sit here as is. And I'm probably not doing anything with this team. As much as I hate to say it, I think it's the truth, my friend. But it's like the shortest team review that we've done in forever. So I'm going to send over some free questions for you in case anything comes across your plate. But the fact of the matter is, I think your roster is set up quite well, and there are no easy trades for this. Now, Carter, this is a Dynasty league. Let me just triple check. It is. So I'm going to save that for the Dynasty stream, my guy. Really do appreciate you, though. And Schlinky with our next one says, hey, Mason, draft didn't go very well for me in this keeper league. Please send help with some trade ideas. Someone offered me Marvin Harvey for Kenneth Walker and Zay. I like the deal, but my running backs are too thin. I don't even know if it's a move I can make. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Schlinky, longtime member of the flock. Always happy to see you, my friend. I love the team name here as well. We got going with Pikachu. Looks like it's a pretty competitive league where everybody's relatively the same, which is very interesting in a keeper league, but it is only a 1-player keeper league. So it's not super, super big of a deal. Like, definitely you just treat it as a redraft league value-wise. Here, 2 things real quick before I dive into Schlinky's team. At the end of this review, we're going to be giving away a bunch of free questions in the chat. To get ready to enter to that, just make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell next to the subscribe button. And then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. And if you don't already have an account, it's free to make one. Use code FLOCK when you sign up. And then when we're looking at what we have with, actually, let me say one other thing too. I am going to turn on team reviews where if you wanted a team review, you can order one within the next 10 minutes. But the team review will not be done in this live stream. It will be done in tomorrow's live stream. But you will get it sent to you through the site, so you don't have to worry about that. But if we're looking at this team, this is a league in which the wide receiver depth matters. The reason for that is it's a start 4 wide receiver full PPR format. So I want to build around the wide receiver position here. So for us to have Puka, London, Brian Thomas, Tet, Zay Flowers, it's great. Now, of course, our running back room is horrendous. It is legitimately a dumpster caught on fire at the moment. Someone offered us Marv and Harvey for Kenneth Walker and Zay. So if I was going to go from Kenneth Walker to Harvey, slight downgrade, Zay to Marv, pretty big upgrade. I like the value of it. I would rather have Marv and Harvey there, but at the same time, I will say, holy crap. Oh my gosh. I got to record this for the Flock League. Well. Travis Etienne, the running back that I traded for before the season started, is now all of a sudden the league winner that you need for this year. I'm going to be updating my rankings tonight. I don't know if I'm going to be putting him at RB4, RB5, RB6. Obviously top 10. No fool would put him lower than that. But it's nice to be me, and I can't imagine how it feels to be y'all. Sorry, had to get that going. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish this team review for Schlinky. Then I'm going to do a separate live stream where we talk about the trade. But here for Schlinky, I like the trade. I don't think you can do it, frankly, because you're in a spot where, honestly, F it, Schlinky. I'm sorry, I'm going to get to this later. I got to go through, and I absolutely have to make a live stream real quick talking about the Tank Bigsby thing. So I'm sorry that this is breaking news. I'm not going to mark this complete because we'll definitely look at this in a live stream soon. So I'm going to end this stream. I'm going to fire up a brand new stream and talk about the Travis Etienne stuff and update all my rankings. I hope I get to see y'all there. And of course, if you're watching this right now and you want to see all that and somehow you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. That way you're able to come out and you are able to see that live stream with us. And